Hi, it's Splinterverse. Welcome to another episode of D&D New Releases, where we offer first impressions of new third-party products for Dungeons & Dragons. We cover up to 20 titles from Dungeon Masters Guild and up to 20 more from DriveThruRPG each week. The titles are presented in alphabetical order by site, and all of them are linked in the video description. Purchasing the books using those links helps the channel, but you can also support us by purchasing one of our best-selling books. We've got lineages suitable for any setting, as well as optional lineage rules in our Van Richten's Librum of Lineages. With our Potions Unlocked book, we have over 100 pages of material to take your potions to the next level in your game. Our Feywild Companion offers 150 pages of Feywild fun for players and DMs. Also, our book Fizban's Vault of Draconic Secrets contains over 50 pages of dragon-themed player options, including a subclass for each class, and much more. Please support the channel by purchasing our books using the links in the video description. This past week, we launched a new program from Splinterverse Media where we're giving you free D&D content, polls, all sorts of good stuff on our social media channels, including exclusive discounts that you can't find anywhere else to third-party Dungeons & Dragons related books. This week, our very first title that we have in our discount program is OSR Solo. So I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But I want to tell you, if you're not following us on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, you're going to miss out on these opportunities. So make sure you come follow us on one of those channels. So OSR Solo is everything you need to run OSR games by yourself. It's a best platinum seller, and it's from Parts Per Million at 8 pages. You can see here the regular price is $4.95, but the first 1,000 people who use our link will get that half off. So it's a big discount for you, and it's exclusive through Splinterverse Media. And it says here that the rules are intended to allow you to play an OSR module, whether it's a 0 D&D, so the Homes edition or BX style, without a dungeon master. So in this case, it's solo play. There's just a single character and no DM. You start by imagining your character in the game setting and play them through all the social interactions, all the NPCs and events that would normally come up. At some point, you'll reach a point where you would normally ask your DM for more information, such as, are there any guards? Are there any ways out? What can you hear? At this point, the solo rules come into play. You pitch your question in a yes-no format. The solo rules will then return an answer to your question, much like a magic 8-ball toy. It is then down to you and your improv skills to decide what does this answer mean right now. Often the first thing that comes into your head is the answer to go with. If you just got yes and no answers, things would get boring quite quickly. So these rules are designed to throw up twists and turns into your character story. That's my favorite part of this book, is that you get those twists and turns mixed into this solo experience. So you can see here in this image, they've got the plot twists listed here. So I think that's really fun. They've even got a video tutorial to help you get started. And there's so much material out there. Maybe your home game is only 5e, and so you want to find a way to play some of these old OSR BX modules and get those experiences that you didn't get to have, or that you had but you want to have again. This gives you a way to do it on your own. It's got really good ratings, and let's take a look inside. So you can see there's a whole section on these plot twists. There's scenes, who said what, record keeping, etc. And you get to see 10 of those pages. So you get to see the whole book basically in the preview. So you can come through here, read all of this, and see if it's going to work for you. But I took a look at it. It looks really fun. I love the plot twists, and I think it can bring a lot to your game. Maybe even you can use some of these rules to enhance other solo experiences. Maybe you adapt the twist to 5th edition solo roleplay or something else, right? So you can get some additional value out of it. Or maybe some of the twists will inspire you if you're writing or creating your own homebrew adventures. So lots of opportunities. And I mean, when it's normally $4.95 and you're getting half off, that's huge. So I really think you should support this title and get that discount while you can. The discount link is now in the video description as well. But again, if you want to get these early, make sure you're following on our social media channels so you can get them on Mondays. And also, At the end of this video, we're going to talk about what's coming next Monday, what the exclusive discount's going to be. So you'll want to stay tuned for that. Speaking of this week, we're going to talk about titles that were released between January 27th and February 2nd, 2022. And we've got all kinds of stuff. As you can see, we're going to talk about some shops. We've got adventures. We've got spells, even campaign settings this week. So you're going to want to stay tuned all the way to the end so you don't miss a title and you get to hear what our exclusive discount for you is going to be next Monday. So first, we've got Lore Keepers 19 Wandering Shops and Shopkeepers by Jeremy Malul and Charles Hensley. And it's $7.95 for 47 pages. And it says they travel by wagon, giant lizard, or awakened oak. Wandering merchants can go anywhere your players can. If your players travel often, these shops aren't stuck in a single place. Your players can see them again, even if they never return to where they first met. Buy exotic pets from kobold hunters, dreams from traveling tabaxi, or diamonds from a royal clan of dwarves who have lost their kingdom. The 19 original shops in this collection are ready to breathe life into your world. We've already figured out the prices and given each NPC detailed motivations, flaws, and secrets. They're ready to drop into your campaign. That's one less thing to prepare. And if you're looking for inspiration, we even include a number of adventure hooks tied to various shops. So reading that, I mean, they've covered all the bases. They've got their NPCs fleshed out. They've got the pricing figured out for you. And who doesn't need shops randomly? All of a sudden you have a need for a shop and you're in the middle of the wilderness. Maybe you're even in the middle of a dungeon and you can work some of these shops, shopkeepers, NPCs into the story so that you can deal with any of the transactions that need to happen and get your party prepared for what comes next, right? So you can see here in this preview, they've got the name of the NPC or the store, I guess, and then you've got all this information. And I love that there's hooks in here because you could even build some, full adventures based on some of these, or they could be like the starting point. And you'll notice that there's a bundle down here that includes the Wandering Shops as well as another book called 19 Shops and Shopkeepers together for $9.99. So that's another option. But yeah, I really think this is going to be a fun one. Let's take a look inside. So you get to see 6 of those 47 pages. So this one's called Kagak's Tribe, and there's a description of it as well as you've got the NPC here. And then the services and wares they offer, the pets for sale, the exotic gear with breakdown. So these are even some new items for you. And then you go on to the next one, Kobolds in Danger. Or no, maybe this is... Yeah, okay, so this is like an extension maybe? Not sure. And then you got Fagin's Wake, yeah, because that's just part of this one. Sorry about that. I got confused. Fagin's Wake is the next one. Yeah, so they've got the Golden Door. That sounds cool. Yeah, let's read about the Golden Door. That sounds really interesting. There's a lot of good ones in here from what I can see, though. All right, the Golden Door, riches beyond measure. It's not an uncommon story. Tall tales and urban legends have long spoken of merchants, craftsfolk, and traders stumbling upon golden doors where they should not be. They step through these magical doorways and emerge sometime later, returning to their lives far wealthier than they were before crossing the threshold. Some stories end there with a happily ever after, while others are cautionary tales in which the fortunate souls spend the rest of their lives in desperate search for that same door, only to never find it again. Most disregard these stories as pure fiction, but the Golden Door is real. It is a magical doorway that can seemingly appear anywhere in the world, and any who step through it find themselves in a small desert bazaar, filled with priceless wealth. Little is truly known about the origin and nature of this door or the bazaar that lies beyond it, but it is most certainly a boon for any who are graced by its invitation. So we were saying earlier, you might be in the middle of the wilderness or in the middle of a dungeon. So where else would it be perfect but to have a golden door all of a sudden in a dungeon, right? Bringing in a whole wagon or a whole other merchant setup into a dungeon might be difficult, but throwing this golden door in there could be pretty easy, right? It's anywhere a door could be, or maybe even places it shouldn't be, like standing up in the middle of nothingness, maybe, in the middle of a clearing. It could just be standing there, right? So that's just this one. And they've got stalls and services populating the stalls, the staircase, Here's a Jin, and yeah, lots of stuff going on in here. I love how detailed it is, and you've got all these little adventure hooks and motivations. So this seems really fun. I definitely think it'd be a good read, and super useful for DMs out there. So look for it in the video description under 19 Wandering Shops and Shopkeepers and give it a click. Next we have Astronomer's Throne. It's another supplement for Chapter 4 of Wild Beyond the Witchlight, the Yawn area of Prismeer. And it's from Daniel Kahn and Patrick Rez, and it's $1.99 for 11 pages. And it says, Chapter 4, Yawn is the third portion of Prismeer. Each of the locations presented in this chapter can be explored quickly outside of Motherhorn. This mini-adventure aims to expand the location of the Astronomer's Throne and turn it into a memorable encounter with implications for Yawn. At this location, characters can engage in some initiative order high-stakes action with an option to avoid directly attacking or killing any monsters. The map of Yawn in Chapter 4 of Wild Beyond the Witchlight depicts the Astronomer's Throne in the northwest corner, but the location itself is merely a quick random encounter. At this location, the party learns of an elf. I'm not going to read the rest of that because it might be a spoiler, but this supplement assumes a party of 46 characters of 6th level with scaling options for higher level. So you've got that expanded location with the Astronomer's Throne and Dreamstar Sanctum. You've got VTT maps and illustrated puzzles so you can solve the riddle of the constellations. And you can see here some of the fun pictures, and I love this map. That the artwork on that map is just truly beautiful. And you've got the background down here. Yeah, fun star stuff. I mean, you could use this even outside of Wild Beyond the Witchlight. I mean, all this astronomy stuff, the constellations, Circle of Stars, you could connect it to that. There's so many places you could use this. This is a series that Daniel's been doing. We've covered most of the titles in the series and expanding Wild Beyond the Witchlight. But as we've said before, this could be used in other domains of delight or even outside of the Feywild. If you bought my book Feywild Companion, there's a whole domain in there called Dualis. This could be in Dualis. Or you could just use some of these places, even just using this map somewhere else, because this $1.99 for all of this goodness, including these VTT maps, is just a crazy good price. So I really think you should look for it in the links below under Astronomer's Throne and give it a click. Next we have EX2, The Land Beyond the Magic Mirror. It's a conversion guide. It's a 5th edition by Ernie Noah, $2.95 for 18 pages. So it converts the monsters, creatures, spells, magic items, and encounters in that classic D&D module EX2, The Land Beyond the Magic Mirror. And the originals by E. Gary Gygax. And it says the following digital maps have been included at 70 DPI. So they've got the chessboard fields, Egg on the Wall, Magic Mirror House, etc., Path Through the Woods. And look at this. It looks fun. These are helpful. A lot of the old modules, they don't really have anything that's super helpful for VTT. And so having these maps is awesome because you can, even if you converted it on your own, you would have to scrounge around and find the maps. And so what I like about Ernie Noah's conversions is that Ernie gives you those maps. And so even if you did your own conversion, you would have all these maps. And a lot of these maps could be reused for other types of encounters. This one, the chessboard, in the Feywild Companion, we have two full adventures. And one of them involves a chessboard in the Feywild, so you could use this as well. We include a chessboard map in our book, but you could use this one if you want a different one, or maybe there's some other place you want to have a chess encounter in nature, and so you could use this map. So lots of benefits beyond just having this converted for you. And Ernie's got it really nicely organized for you, so everything refers to the original, because the DM's Guild rules are you can't fully copy the original. You have to let the original stand on its own and just enhance it with conversions. So you can't just port everything in. You've got to kind of refer to it. So I like how Arnie organizes it so that you can quickly connect it to the original source material instead of struggling to make the connection between the conversions. So I think you should look for it in the links below in the video description under EX2, the Land Beyond the Magic Mirror, and give it a click. Next, we have Gravity Priest, a brand new class with 3 subclasses for the 5th edition by Titanomancy or Titanomachy RPG. And it's $10 for 14 pages. And as I said, it's a brand new class themed around gravity, space, and quantum mechanics. That's really fun. I mean, those are some really interesting areas of science. And so now you get to experience those in the game that you love. So it says playstyle is low damage, high utility. It's a tank and a full spellcaster using wisdom as a spellcasting ability. It says you'll get everything you need to play a Gravity Priest at your table, including the 3 subclasses, space, time, and quantum, a full spell list, and 30 plus invocation style features to choose from called Planar Boons. So that's fun. You know, if you have played a warlock and you have your eldritch invocations or some other similar kind of ability, this is like that. It says think of it like warlocks and clerics had a baby without all the baggage. That's funny. And then you've got the subclasses Aethermancer, Chronor, Templar, and Wave Function. So those even sound fun just from the name. So we're going to look inside. You get to see 7 of those 14 pages. So here you get your table. It shows all the features you get as you go. And it looks like you're getting something pretty much every level. There's a couple levels that you don't, but that's true of all classes. And of course, the numbers are going to tick up over here. And you've got your list of boons that you're going to get. Then you got your class features, spell slots, spell casting ability, and then emblem of the Planarverse. Starting at first level, when the Planarverse chooses you as one of its champions, you are granted a special shield containing your own demiplane. I've always wanted my own demiplane, so here we go. The space inside begins as a 10-foot cube and grows to 30 feet at 5th and 120 feet at 10th and 1 mile at 17th level. You may enter this demiplane as an action, as well as store items as long as they fit within the current dimensions. You are the only person who can do so. Additionally, if you are wielding the shield and no weapon, you may use your shield to make a melee weapon attack. For you, the shield is a simple one-handed weapon and deals 1d6 bludgeoning damage. Starting at 6th level, attacks with this weapon count as magical for the purpose of overcoming resistance and immunity. Very cool. And then you've got the planar boons, and it says your devotion to protecting the planes grants you a deeper connection to the magic that governs the physical world. At 2nd level, you gain 1 planar boon of your choice, and then you get more as you go, it looks like. And then dimensional order at 3rd level, 1 property of gravity makes you its avatar. This choice grants you features at 3rd level, 6th, 10th, and 14th. So dimensional order must be your archetype or subclass. And all kinds of features in here. And I like they've got a nice spell list here. So that's exciting. And it's always good to be able to see that they have a decent amount of spells available to them. And you've got everything from light, fly, mending, animate objects, anti-magic field, clone, maze, gate, weird, wish, all those. So lots of fun stuff. I like this. I think the artwork is nice, very well laid out. And I think just dealing with all these science areas like gravity, space, and quantum mechanics makes for a really fun theme for the class. And I think it's going to be a cool one for people to try and mix it up. Playing the same classes over and over can get tiring. So why not try a whole new class in your campaign, especially one that already has all of its subclasses ready for you. So I think you should look for it in the video description links under Gravity Priest and give it a click. Next, we have Hex Flower Weather, and it's from Dividestined, $4.95 for 27 pages. It says weather is always in the background of any adventure that takes place under the open sky, and it's often a factor even when indoors. It can be just as much of a character as a boisterous nobleman and as much of a challenge as a deadly dragon. The tools in these rules help the Dungeon Master use weather to make their world feel real and dynamic. So hex flowers are essentially tables laid out on a hexagonal grid, making it possible to move in 6 directions instead of 2. Each result is tied to the previous roll, making changes seem smooth and natural. The main hex flower presented here encompasses everything to allow you to find temperature, precipitation, and wind in a single roll, no matter the terrain or season. What's more, it will be related to the previous weather conditions. No more going from a blizzard to a dry heat. It's great for updating the weather each day of your campaign. So here's a hex flower. Sometimes a more focused hex flower is easier to read than the main hex flower. These rules also include several smaller climate-focused hex flowers that work the same way, but they're more manageable and clamp down on the possible options: Arctic, coast, desert, forest, grassland, etc. Some climates have additional rules options to better represent their unique conditions. So you can see here's an Arctic one, and it's based on, the Arctic terrain or environment, and then you've got special hex flower notations in here for that, and then the coast has a different one. And with some of these, if it tells you go this way, you just go to the other side and continue, so that you're staying within that terrain, unless you're deciding that over here is that the coast is going into the Arctic now, and then you could continue on. It says over 70 types of special weather. Weather is affected by a large variety of factors, especially in worlds with magic. When weather becomes more complicated than temperature, precipitation, and wind, the special weather options in these rules provide options to model conditions ranging from mundane sleet to raining frogs. And so they've got that covered here, and they've got their little symbols that they're using on the hex flower hexes to represent what you're dealing with. So very cool. I like that it's very organized, that they're using graphics to represent things. That's helpful. So you can see 3 of those 27 pages in the full-size preview, and it talks about using the hex flower, how to move across. So you have to determine the climate, of course, and then the starting position, and then you roll for a direction. It says roll 1d8 and move 1 hex in the direction indicated by the value, with 1 being upward. So this kind of shows you if you're here and you roll a 1 on your 1d8, then you go up above. If you roll a 2, you go this way, 3 this way. If you roll a 7, you stay put, it looks like. And it says if it's 8, you move towards the climate hex. So there's one hex called the climate hex. So I love it. I think it's helpful. And you've got an area that's really maybe not covered, and maybe you're struggling to make the weather have some verisimilitude and feel like it's true to the terrain. So this could be a really cool system to help you do that, and it's only $4.95, so pretty good price to get all of that under control, and it covers all of the official terrains and environments in 5th edition. So with this one purchase, you can have at least an option for your weather wherever your campaign is set. So check it out in the links below under Hex Flower Weather. Give it a click. Next, we've got King Gold, a pamphlet adventure with this really fun cover with this happy person buried beneath the gold here. And it's by Jason Weitzel, $2.95 for 9 pages. It says Dungeons and Dragons that can be played in a pub or in the kitchen with your kids. And you can see how the pages are meant to be folded like a little pamphlet, and you get the whole adventure. So it'd be easy to print this if you have a home printer. And get it in your hands so that you can have something physical as well as digital. I mean, oftentimes we buy these books and there's so many pages that you pretty much have to go to Office Max or something to get them printed, or you have to hope that there's going to be a print-on-demand version. So it's nice when occasionally you can find a title where it's just small enough that you can just print it on your own. So it says it's the first of a new series of standalone pamphlet quests, traces the hobby back to its weird roots when a night of fun could be had just a few pages of printed material. King Gold isn't just a love letter to an old format, it's a solution for dungeon masters who want to get to the table and go using a prefabricated adventure that doesn't take itself too seriously. King's Gold works just as well in a bar with friends as it does in the kitchen counter with kids. So you've got the 1-page story overview, Hex Crawl Wilderness intro, all in one pamphlet. And the stat and monster tables are also there for you. So I think that's really cool. Let's look inside. And so get to see 3 of those 9 pages. It shows you again how it's folded out. And then you've got your intro, adventure cadence, and details. It says, Dungeon Master, read this aloud. So we'll read a little bit of the introduction. You can't take it with you when you go. It's a proverb old as time. Oh, okay. This is just saying this is how, the the details. But we'll read this anyway. It's a proverb old as time, warning of the frivolities of material things. Even Faerun's most charmed grandees cannot bring their troves into death. A fact once beset upon King Gold, the rich and nomadic ruler of the city-state of Soria, which subsisted until days ago within its own plane of existence when it mysteriously reappeared under the darkness of night. Lore speakers speak of a pact between King Gold and Joaquin, the golden goddess of commerce and wealth. A bargain was struck thusly. King Gold would yield half his gold to Joaquin if she sliced a rift into the outer planes, into which King Gold and treasure could slip away from the war trudge of Laxus Foon and his quarter ogre legion. However, in a reckless over-display of power, Joaquin unintentionally extracted Soria's totality, Castle Gold and the peasant hovels surrounding it, into the planar abyss. A fissured ruin of dusty waste as far as an eagle eye could see was all Laxus Foon and his legion was left to discover, and that bald swath of land is all that remained until now. So, cool setup. I guess you do to read this. I wasn't sure if this was, since it's not on the pamphlet pages, if it's something you read or not. So, very cool. Yeah, I love the flavor of this. I love that it's got a plane involved, or planes, and the little story of it and the artwork. I think it could be really, really fun and memorable and unique. So I think you should check it out under King Gold in the links below and give it a click. Next, we have Koa's Expanded Downtime Activities by Koa Johnson. $5 for 12 pages. It says in Koa's Expanded Downtime Activities, you can find 9 brand new downtime activities, fully fleshed out with complications and rules on how to run them and reap their rewards. These downtime activities are designed to fit right in with Xanathar's rules and Downtime Revisited. And the author says, I had always felt that downtime activities were a little lacking despite Xanathar's. So this document adds in more options for a variety of characters to participate in. In addition to this, I also included mastery feats for every downtime activity listed in this document and Xanathar's Downtime Revisited. Optional feats that a DM can give to their player for excelling in their downtime activity to encourage players to really interact with downtime. So that's fun. Let's take a look inside. So here you get to see 7 of those 12 pages. So the first one's agriculture, and then you've got artisan work, black market dealings, learn basic spellcraft, meditation, medical work, mining, monster hunting, and that's all we can see in here. But and there's subsist as well. So we'll pick one to read. Let's look at meditation. That sounds interesting. So it says, sometimes the life of an adventurer can be stressful. A character can be exposed to extraplanar horrors, alien forces, the slaughter of innocent lives, and much more. This downtime activity allows a character to realign themselves in a spiritual and holistic way to become more themselves and shake off any of the mental troubles or spirits that may be plaguing them. To partake in this downtime activity, a character must spend 5 work weeks in a comfortable space meditating. No other resources are required. And then the resolution is the character makes a wisdom check to see how successful they are in aligning themselves, reducing the amount of time it takes to fully achieve the benefits of deep meditation, as listed on the meditation focus table. At the end of meditation, you gain one of the following benefits. So if your alignment was changed due to an outside influence, your alignment can revert back to its original. If you have a personality trait, ideal, flaw, or bond that was added or removed due to an external force, you can remove one of these or regain your original. If you are possessed, you are no longer possessed. If you are attuned to a magic item that is cursed, you can remove your attunement to the magic item. And then your focus is, it talks about amount of work weeks to complete. And then complications, meditating is a very solitary activity. However, there's always a possibility, however slim, that there can be a complication. For each work week spent meditating, there's a 5% chance of a complication occurring. And then that includes a group of Githzerai are convinced that your meditation is interfering with the fabric of cosmic space-time. So that might involve a rival. It says you have a much more extreme time focusing, and your meditation requires 2 additional work weeks. In an attempt to achieve a better space for meditation, you unknowingly trespassed on private property. You must pay 150 GP in fines or be thrown in jail. And that's just 3 of the 4 complications available. So each one of them has that kind of structure. And then, of course, there's some feats in here as well that we're not seeing in the preview, but they mentioned. So it could be a lot of fun. And, downtime activities are always good to engage the players, especially between sessions. So check it out in the video description links under Koa's expanded downtime activities. Give it a click. Next we have Owlbear's Homebrew Digest, a collection of content from Owlbear's Den. And it's 61 pages for a suggested price of only 50 cents. That's a lot of pages for a suggested price of 50 cents on Pay What You Want. It includes a brand new class, the Commander, along with 4 subclasses for that class, and then 25 subclasses for the classes in the player's handbook. A total of 11 new feats, 70 spells from levels 0 to 9, 31 new magic items, which include a new type of magic item, including charms, and a rule supplement designed to add something to spell casting focuses. So that's a lot of stuff going on at such a low price. Because remember, DM's Guild publishers only get half of what you pay. So in this case, the author's only going to get 25 cents. So that's a lot of content they're giving you for very little profit. All right, so 10 pages in the preview. So you can see they've got the Commander and everything about that class, and then you go into the other classes, and not only are they doing some subclasses for these existing classes, but they are doing some optional class features, kind of like Tasha's book does, etc. And then they got some feats and a bunch of spells, everything from After Image all the way down to Zealous Attention. And they got a bunch of magic items with Aegeus Tattoo all the way down to Worm Whip. And then some mechanical reworks and talking about how to update focuses, spell focuses, or foci, however you want to say the plural there. And then you've got your an overview, and then your Commander class here. And then you get into all of the different subclasses for the Commander, and then here you've got your Barbarian, and so you've got optional class features for the Barbarian. So some optional ones like Quick to Anger here. It's a 5th level Barbarian feature which replaces the fast movement feature. At 5th level, when you are hit by an attack from a creature you can see within 30 feet, you can enter into a rage as a reaction. When you do so, you gain any applicable damage resistances to the triggering attack. So a little bit different way to play that Barbarian if you want. So let's read a little bit about the Commander as well, since that's a whole new class. So while training combat, commanders spend most of their time learning from the battles of the past, attempting to understand what the combatants did and why. Through rigorous study, commanders are able to learn military tactics and strategies that could make even the weakest of armies a force to be reckoned with. Once they have learned to guide their allies around the battlefield, commanders choose a specialty. Whether it is more offensive or defensive, this specialty allows commanders to better guide their allies into battle, allowing them to alter the course of combat. So it sounds like a fun concept for a class. You're focused on battle and understanding, past battles to learn from those, etc. So I think you're going to get a ton of stuff in here for 50 cents. I think that's no joke to get 61 pages for 50 cents. That's a really good deal. So I encourage you to look for that link in the video description under Owlbear's Homebrew Digest to give it a click. Next we have Planar Exile, an adventuring party's train wreck through the multiverse. That's from Jules Castro with a suggested price of $8 on Pay What You Want for 20 pages. It says it's a self-sufficient module for party of adventurers from levels 5 to 9. It is designed to be easy to adapt, augment, and integrate into any campaign or as its own mini-adventure. It should take 3 to 5 sessions to complete. It contains 17 interconnected half-planes, a giant puzzle to find the correct combinations of the Infernal Machine of Lum the Mad, a homebrew of Volutive Artifact, Butcher, the Flail of Yongu, a homebrew boon, the Blessing of Lum the Mad, And it says, the author says, I have run it as part of my homebrew campaign, Heralds of Starvation, and as a transition between Out of the Abyss and Rage of Demons, both times with great success. The module will take players through a maze of demi-planes and a wide variety of encounters, a deal with devils, an arena ruled by Yankees, a giant puzzle to decipher throughout the module, and you can easily add demi-planes of their own creation, integrate clues to their scenario, or reference to the player's backstory. So, I mean, it says also by the author, I made this module to be able to shoehorn every crazy encounter I had in mind while keeping the narrative coherent and to control the rhythm of the session. So, yeah, this combination of random stuff means you might be able to shoehorn in some other things that you've been collecting and you're not sure where to put them. Maybe you can just slot it into this adventure and make it all feel like it goes together. Because if this adventure has kind of a chaotic, crazy feel to it, then plugging something in that you don't have a home for somewhere else can make it feel like it belongs there. So yeah, let's take a look inside. You can see all the pages, which is really helpful. So you've got the introduction, how everything works, the list of rooms. So you got the boudoir of the Ifriti, the infernal machine of Lum the Mad, the counterfeit tavern, the Scarlet Aquarium, the Corrid Mine. I mean, just lots of fun names for these little areas that you're going to be going through. I like that, the ordeal of the idiotic traps. And they've got something called the Wheel of Fate. Yeah, all kinds of stuff in here, and then you have an appendix of, with some boons and some different items, so including artifacts, so that's helpful. But let's go up here and read a little bit of the how things work so you can get an understanding. So, okay, located in the body of an elder astral dreadnought, the Planar Exile is a hub occupied by representatives of all planes. Some have commercial and political aims. Others have carved a small personal kingdom there. Some less fortunate are prisoners. It consists of a set of half-planes connected by portals. Some half-planes are controlled by an entity. Others are dangerous places that have no guardian entity. Each half-plane is equipped with a teleportation sphere, allowing access to other half-planes. The teleportation from one room to another is governed by two rules: the power of the tutelary entity on its sphere of teleportation and the capacity of the heroes to control the room in which they go. These rules are defined by the GM. The module presents options and recommendations on how to design these rules. So it goes through the recommended rule and then the rule customization options. So each time adventurers use a teleportation sphere, they decide whether they want to return to the previously visited room or enter a new one. In order to successfully enter a previously visited room, the character trying to control the sphere must succeed on an Arcana check. If they fail, they teleport to a random room. If the adventurers decide to enter a new room, a dice roll is made with a maximum result that must cover the total number of rooms in the exile. For example, if your version of Exile contains 18 half-planes, the maximum number on the dice roll must reach 18. Once the roll is made, the GM chooses to take one of the two results on each dice, or the sum of the two, which is the number of rooms reached. So they're helping you kind of plot out this really unique location. And as we said when we were reading the intro page here on the catalog on the site, this seems like a place where you could plug in some other stuff. They'd probably need to have a little bit of an extra planar feel to them, but you could plug in some rooms in here that maybe have other encounters you've been wanting to fit somewhere. Maybe you bought an encounter on here, a one-page encounter, or maybe you've developed one of your own and it just doesn't fit into anything you've been doing. So I really like the setup of this. I like the lore of it, and it's got a fun cover. So I think you should check it out under Planar Exile in the links below and give it a click. Next, we have Politics of Cyre, a guide to the Mournland. And it's just basically a gazetteer to that area, which is nice. And it's from Joseph Meehan, $4.95 for 22 pages. And it says, a country devastated by the magical cataclysm known as the Mourning. This comprehensive supplement expands on the internal politics of Cyre, a country wiped off the face of Corvair 4 short years ago. So here you can already see the map with settled, river basin, heavily settled, key fort, etc. some additional maps. And it says the Politics series consolidates and expands upon the canonical information from Eberron sourcebooks. A few changes have been made to cohere with the author's personal view of the setting, influenced by the writings of Keith Baker, discussions in online Eberron communities, and personal biases. And then there's a completely free version you can get with the sample file watermark when you look at the full-size preview if you need to. But there's a whole bundle that has all the politics from the author. So for $12.55 you can get 4 different politics titles, which is helpful, especially if I'm guessing all of these are Eberron. If you're playing Eberron, getting things fleshed out for you would be super, super helpful, and giving you more background on some things. Some of the official books, they can only go a little bit, maybe a paragraph about something. So it's nice when somebody takes the time to go flesh out something that was maybe just a paragraph in an official book. So looking inside, as the author said, you could basically download this by clicking this and have it marked with the sample file. But I encourage you to support this author. It does take a lot of time to make these books, and money as well. So when you can purchase it, that's really helpful. But if you want to read the whole thing first, make sure it's going to be something you want to use, then this is a great option, because you're getting to see everything. So I like that it says Eston, and it's got the points of interest, notable NPCs and characters from Eston, and this is Eston today. And then it's got all the information about how it is today. So you've got how it was and how it is. And that's helpful, because maybe you have a time travel situation in your campaign, or maybe you're going to have the characters play as ancestors or people that may or may not survive whatever's going to happen, and then come back to make some new characters that go through the way Eston is today, for example. So let's just read a little bit about how Eston is today. It says, Eston is a disaster zone. The morning triggered a series of arcane catastrophes, collapsing the top levels of the city into its network of tunnels. The adjacent Bray River has flooded much of the city, burying key facilities in aquatic tombs. Despite this destruction, new life has emerged in Eston as the morning brought the magic of the city to life, granting increased life and intelligence to the constructs, and freeing the enchantments on magic items into the shape of living spells. So, very cool detail on how it is today. And then let's just look at one of the NPCs over here, the Omen spell. While reports of living spells almost universally describe them as unintelligent, some mention an intelligent divination spell known as the Omen spell. While it responds only in riddles, it seems to be capable of understanding and responding to humanoid explorers. A small international community of pilgrims have taken note of its advanced divinatory powers and its ability to answer questions supplicants didn't even know they had. So fun little living spell that you can deal with. There's even a section on adventures here in Eston. So it's pretty thorough. I feel like this really covers a lot of what you would want from a gazetteer. And I love the before and after kind of approach to it. And I also think it's cool that you can get a bundle with all of those politics gazetteers in one big bundle. So I think you should check it out under Politics of Cyre in the links below and give it a click. Next, we have a reward for the Valorous by Elven Tower. I don't know why I said 11. Anyway, it's a level 3 adventure, and it's a mid-tier one-shot, and it is 95 cents for 15 pages. So that's a steal for this. So you get a whole adventure for only 95 cents. It says a group of level 3 characters learns about an ancient elvish crypt that was recently unearthed by miner prospectors. Some of the unfortunate miners lost their lives in the discovery when they encountered the ageless guardians in the underground compound. The gossip in the town has put on alert several mercenary companies and treasure hunters. All claim that the treasures in that ancient vault must be worth the risk. Unknown to most is the fact that the place was built eons ago by ancestors of today's elves. The elver race of yore had its time of glory, but it inevitably passed. A grandiose relic from that era is interred in the crypt. It is a legendary weapon known as the Sapphire Blade. This is a sentient artifact that belonged to an elvish knight. Very cool. Love sentient items. And there's always Elven Tower always does really nice layouts and maps and artwork. So you can really get some fun things to experience, and it says it's got separate high res and roll 20 maps, so it makes it really easy if you want to use this in VTT. And you can see that throughout they've got flavor text for the different points of interest. They've got artwork. It's nice, easy to read format. And here's the interior. You get to see 9 of those 15 pages. So you've got the 2 parts of the adventure, and then a section on the conclusion, and then in the appendices you've got creatures and then the maps. So how you can set it up here. It even talks about linearity and player agency, and then you've got the background lore, some hooks. We'll read one of those in a minute, and then leading right into that adventure with all your flavor text and artwork, as well as of course these fun maps. I think these maps are really great, and you can always reuse those for your own homebrew stuff too. So let's read some of these hooks here. So gossip in town, mercenaries, sellswords, and adventurers gather at the city square for news about an interesting discovery. A group of prospectors found what appears to be the entrance to an old elvish temple or crypt from a bygone era. The unfortunate miners were suddenly attacked by phantoms and undead, but they managed to make it back to tell the story. The location is revealed, and many adventuring parties express their intentions of visiting the place soon to see what all the fuzz is about. All fantasize about the possible treasures and marvels in that crypt. So yeah, get the buzz going, make the party think about what lies down there. And little do they know, there's a sentient artifact. And then, okay, so the next one is called a call for the bravest. The sapphire blade presents itself in dreams to the characters and shows them the way to the elvish crypt. The blade conveys its desire to impart unimaginable power on the worthy individual that wields it. It is not shy to reveal that the mighty undead guardians protect the crypts, and it shall be a perilous journey, but the reward for the valorous ones who participate is worth it. So that's a cool idea too, having all the characters kind of hear about it in a dream. They might even start fighting over who's going to get this blade because it sounds really fun. Yeah, I think this is a great idea for only 95 cents, and I think you should click on the link for it in the video description under a reward for the Valorous. Check it out. Next we've got Rise of Vecna. It's part of the Doomed Forgotten Realms Volume 2 by Quill and Cauldron, Scott McClintock, Mark Altfudish, and Kathleen Harrington. It's 124 pages. So it's a lot of pages for $9.99. And it says, imagine a world where Tiamat was summoned successfully, where the princes of elemental evil tread unfettered, where Demogorgon prowls the Underdark with the wand of Orcus, leaving an army of undead in his wake, where the storm giants have been cast to the bottom of Ordning, where Baldur's Gate has been banished to the 9 hells. Imagine a world where good has lost and evil prevailed. The Sword Coast has been divvied up by the Zentarum, the mountain giants of Grudhog, the Cult of the Dragon, and many other sinister factions. But above them all looms the Archlich Vecna, who has orchestrated or exploited a series of ever-escalating calamities to conquer the very realms themselves. Will your players rise to the challenge, or will they too fall before the might of Vecna? And it says, undo the machinations of the Whispered One. This adventure is designed to take players from 3rd to 10th level as they tread the dark paths of the doomed Forgotten Realms. Their journey will take them through multiple dungeon delves. They will discover familiar locations now changed forever, and little by little, the darkest plots will be unraveled. It says, exterminate a gang of mephits amidst the streets of Mirabar. Take a nightmarish trek through an underground highway haunted by the fiendish Dimgutnek, he who wears the flesh of the dead, and make a cross-continental journey along the Sword Coast, witnessing firsthand the ravages of a world without heroes. So what's really fun about this is it's taking something that we know pretty well, which is the Forgotten Realms, and it's saying, here's an alternate version of it. It's a multiversal version of it. There's nothing to suggest that there isn't a world out there in the multiverse that is this doomed Forgotten Realms. And so if you have players that are really hip to all the lore. They know how things go. They played a lot of these modules. I think this could be a real fun mix for them to experience. Or if you have new players, maybe you take them through this one first and then go back to the originals and say, you know, have that compare and contrast opportunity, because this product and the previous title in the series are really showcasing this alternate universe of the Forgotten Realms, and it looks really fun. I mean, look at all this artwork of these evil characters that are involved here, and I think it's just so many familiar locations that are going to be a little bit twisted and different. If you're a fan of like Marvel Comics, they have the What If, where they do like, what if somebody else was Captain America, or what if, Spider-Man, the spider that bit Spider-Man bit somebody else, right? And you get to see like alternate versions. So this is kind of like that, in that it's a what if. What if the Forgotten Realms was totally different because all these things went wrong, right? So I think it's really cool, and as always, the look of these books from Scott McClintock and Mark Altfdesh and Kathleen are really nice. I think they do a really good job spending their time making sure it looks really beautiful, and that the browsing experience alone is going to be good. So we're scrolling through, we're going to see 17 of the 124 pages, and I mean, every single one of these pages is just so nicely laid out with beautiful white space and artwork sprinkled in the right spots, so you can really just enjoy browsing and reading it. I think even having this adventure flowchart here is super helpful. But you can see, so they've got the intro, then they go through all the chapters of the adventure, and then they've got some different information on, kind of lore information and background information. So it's got artificially accelerated organisms, dawn of the new age, all kinds of stuff here in this Appendix A. And then Appendix B has all the monsters and NPCs gathered together for you. And then there's handouts, magic items, and even infernal war machines. So much to have in 124 pages for a really good price. Here's a whole map of Mirror Bar. And, this is an alternate Mirror Bar. It's not the one that people are going to be used to, because things have gone wrong, right? So let me find a good little spot to read for you. Let's read about Chante's grave here. It says, this large clearing is free of briars, but still strewn with tangles of clutching reeds. It is dominated by a large blighted tree with sagging leafless branches. Behind the tree is a covered well. During the first round, after the characters enter, a gust of wind blows through the clearing, stirring up tiny whirlwinds of dead leaves and dust. One round later, Colbornia emerges from her tree. Read or paraphrase the following. The branches of the corrupted tree move with malicious intent, as if spurred by some dark, unfathomable will. This movement is followed by a terrible creaking sound, like a muffled moan, as a large, bleeding hole rends the trunk of the rotted tree. A dryad-like creature steps through the hole, her beauty rivaled only by her wretchedness. Surrounded by swirling dead leaves, eyes blazing in necrotic fury, she is a terrible sight to behold. Her raspy voice is equally terrible, as she demands, "Who dares disturb the eternal rest of Chante? She who was slain by the might of Vecna. Leave me now to my slumber, or feel my wrath." So, good encounter, huh? Already, just this one little page. And we only read one little thing. But that sounds creepy, sounds fun, sounds dark, because this is about a world where the villains won, right? And your heroes have to overturn that, or at least make it better. I think it's just a ton of fun. I think it's really cool that, Quill and Cauldron Heroic Adventures, Scott and Mark and Kathleen have put together this fun alternate take, because there's a ton of stuff on here on DM's Guild for Forgotten Realms the way it is, but there is very little that does this, that goes into some alternate reality. And even if you just take that encounter I just read or some other little piece out of it and use it for something else, I'm certain that the $9.99 is going to be well spent, and it's going to give you options that you can either act on the whole book or just use pieces of. So check it out in the video description under Rise of Vecna and give it a click. Next, we've got the Rotting Caverns. It's a dungeon crawl for a party of 2nd or 3rd level characters from Scott LaFave. It's $4.95 for 14 pages. For decades, the Farum Caverns has provided a steady flow of iron to the settlements around the forlorn hills of Faerun. However, underneath the low hills, picks have fallen silent and nothing emerges from the caverns. Do they still work the mine there? If so, why have they stopped their shipments? Someone is needed to investigate the situation at Farum Caverns and possibly save the miners from whatever trouble they may now find themselves in. The Rotting Caverns is an adventure for Dungeons & Dragons intended for a party of 2nd and 3rd level characters. The characters will need to delve into the caverns and battle a variety of undead in order to save the mine. This adventure works well as the next step for your characters from the Ogre Racket adventure found on the Dungeon Masters Guild. But, of course, you can run it on its own. So you've got a map of the caverns, a short story with the main villain, adventure hooks, and 2 new zombie variants, as well as possible hooks for future adventures. So that's helpful. Let's look inside. So you get to see 6 of those 14 pages. So you got the background, the hooks on the road, the mine entrance into the caverns, and then I like this map because look at it's got a whole little mine shaft here with the mining carts on tracks. So let's read a little bit about the hook, and then we'll read one of the flavor text. Neighboring towns such as Secomber or even Daggerford, the characters hear rumblings about a nearby iron mine that has not been heard from in some weeks. Asking for more information will lead them to the Farum Caverns. Another option is the characters are hired by Shanna Folak, the sister of Will Folak, a miner working at Farum Caverns, to investigate why nothing has been heard from her brother recently. Shanna has a small home in Secomber. And then let's read this little flavor text right at the beginning on the road. It says, quite suddenly the corpse before you begins to twitch and jerk, at first slowly, but then much more violently. Its eyelids flutter open, revealing 2 milky orbs. As the corpse stares up at the sky, its lips peel back in a painful grimace, and a rumbling moan shakes its body. With the final gasp, the corpse becomes still once again. So that's very moody. I like that. Yeah, it's got a cool feel, and this is interesting. To figure out what's going on with these miners, and then you get this whole map to explore with this little cool mining train at the very end of it. It looks like so. I think you should check it out and see what's going on in these rotting caverns by looking for it in the video description links and giving it a click. Next, we've got Sorceria S1 Cult of the Hydra. It's a level 1 to 10 adventure from JVC Perry, Chris Boyce, and Lou Fryer for $29.95 for 178 pages. And it's set in a wandering demiplane of Sorceria. Sorceria is a city like no other. Magic is everywhere. It literally walks the streets. The city itself and the forest that surrounds it is part of a roaming demiplane. The city travels through other worlds and planes of existence, stopping where the master Azalon desires. This immense magic is sustained by a terrifyingly powerful arcane artifact called the Black Skull. The magical potential of this legendary item is almost boundless, and it is a source of envy for many a mage in Sorceria. This campaign follows the characters through their investigation of the apprentice abduction, a dangerous scheme carried out by the enemies of Azalon in an attempt to overthrow him and seize control of the city of Sorceria. So I just love this notion that there's this demiplane that's kind of traveling about, that it roams about, that it's heavily magic, and that there's all these things going on in it. It could easily connect, if it's roaming about, it could connect to any of the things that we've already talked about today. We've talked about adventures that have extraplanar rooms and things going on. We've talked about wandering merchants. So the theme this week seems to be roaming, wandering things, and I really like that. when there's sort of a theme, because that means you can work all the books we're talking about into some grand adventure. But this artwork is just stunning. I mean, look at this. This city is clearly magical. It's just coming out of everywhere. You've got magic in the lanterns even. Look at the color. And all kinds of things happening. Dragons flying, people on flying carpets. You know, just a really distinct place. And I think this map is beautiful as well. So the people who did the art on this are truly, truly talented. And yeah, I mean, you've got this whole map of a beautiful city that is roaming. It's a roaming demiplane, and I think that it's just beautiful. I mean, look at the table of contents alone takes 2 pages because there's just so much stuff in this 178 pages. And look at this artwork. It continues to be just stunning. You've got all these characters. You've got the adventure overview. Blood depth, so they even have a chapter 0 where presumably you're gonna have to pick a blood debt, and then chapter 1 under the Hydra. So yeah, look at that art, just fantastical, and I love all the little figures as well. And they got plenty of flavor text, lots of artwork sprinkled throughout, white space, so it's not too hard to read, and just a unique layout to it. I think all in all, this is going to be so fun. And to take characters from 1st to 10th level, that's a massive amount of content to be able to go from 1st to 10th level. I mean, you could basically use this book to go to 10th level and then pick something to go beyond that if you want to go higher at your table. Or maybe your table only goes to 10th level, in which case this could be your entire campaign. So, I mean, that's saving you a lot of time as a DM to have all of this together in one place. And even just being able to look at this art, I mean, you could even, as good as the art is in this book, you could even just look at the art and come up with an adventure hook, or come up with an encounter, or come up with something on your own, just using the art as inspiration. So I think it's worth the money. I definitely want to get a copy of it because it looks like just a real fun read, and a really cool adventure for everybody. And this is going to give you a whole demiplane that is really fleshed out. It's not just 1-page demiplane. This is a whole 178-page book on a demiplane. So you'll have a demiplane that is fully developed that you can use for other things. Even if you don't run the adventure in here, you can use this as a setting. So I'm telling you, I think this is a really good purchase. And like I said, I'm going to get a copy at some point. So check it out under Sorceria S1 Cult of the Hydra in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we have Untold Subclasses, Circle of Sap. Options for odd characters or unexpected NPCs. And it's by Keith Hiscox. And it's $1.95 for 6 pages. And it says it's got the Circle subclass, and then 4 optional new druid spells, 4 fiendish encounter suggestions, and a Wandering Sap druid stat block, which I love. I love when people create these subclasses and then make a NPC stat block as well. That's so nice. It says it's intended for use in conjunction with the druid class in the player's handbook, or special materials presented in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. It's conceptualized in an attempt to create a druid leaning toward abilities relating to the management of plants and plant creatures. There are also elements of nature ritual, bringing a hint of crafting into the subclass. Yeah, it's got some fun artwork. You can see kind of the character's hand is transforming into a plant or something here, which is fun. Let's take a look inside, and they have a publisher preview, so the PDF is going to look a little different, but we got to it by clicking the publisher preview, so you can get to it as well. So here we go, and you get to see 3 pages, so you get to see a little bit more of that artwork. It says the druids of the Circle of Sap have a greater affinity with plant life than with animal life. These druids have tended plants since time immemorial. discovering secret ways to bond plant and animal life together, tying themselves directly into the growth and rhythms of plant life. The Circle of Sap takes a longer view of time, preserving, guiding, and tending to the needs of the non-animal life. Many druids of the Circle undergo ancient rituals passed down from time of the first trees to bind themselves to a specific growing plant by exchanging and grafting plant and animal limbs, or to merge themselves entirely with an awakened plant, taking on aspects of plant physiology. So presumably this can be a little different, when you're used to druids having wild shape, etc. So this would be set up different. Druids bound to a specific plant often remain near the site at which the bound plant grows, serving as enigmatic guardians of a single location. Others who merged with awakened plants wander the lands seeking to preserve life and guide younger souls toward the paths of longer-term abundance through preserving nature rather than short-term gains made via its exploitation or destruction. So you could even have like a cult of these that are, protecting some natural preserve, or maybe they seem like a cult, but then they turn out to be the good team. Because you have a stat block in here for the druid, and again, subclasses. DMs should view subclasses as not just for players, but as options to make unique NPCs that have different abilities. Maybe they're used to dealing with druids that just wild shape, but maybe having these druids from the Circle of Sap, and they're doing all kinds of, plant stuff that they're just not expecting, could be really fun. So look for it in the links below under Untold Subclasses and give it a click. Next, we have Weird Stuff I Found in the Bakery from Isaac May. It's $1 for 6 pages, and Isaac has done a series of these weird stuff I found in certain places, and a lot of it's been, Wizard's Tower or places where adventures happen. But I'm happy to see Isaac delve into shops and merchants and things that are out there, because those things also need to be covered as well. And we talked about those 19 wandering shops at the very beginning of this episode. So this could work in one of those potentially, if there's a bakery shop, or maybe it's next door to one of those other shops. It says, warm smells fill the area around you, along with the taste of home and the sights of freshly baked loaves of bread. There is no more enthralling and welcoming feeling than being within a bakery. In worlds full of magic, the bakery can also be a place of true wonder, from magic wands that can reverse the mistakes of new chefs to spices that can make us feel things anew. Some bakeries have even come up with ways to take their food on month-long journeys without spoiling, or use magical spears to cook meat when the ovens are full. So already you can hear some of the fun abilities that are going to be inside these pages. So you get to see 3 of the 6 pages. So it just goes right into some of these fun items. So we'll read a couple of the items here. So we got Hat of the Chef. It's a wondrous item, rare. Requires attunement by a creature who has proficiency in cook's utensils. While wearing this hat and using your cook's utensils, you can treat a d20 roll of 9 or lower as a 10. After a long rest, you can attempt to make a delicious meal for your companions. If you succeed on a cook's utensils check to make a meal, the first time each day that the creature eats this meal, they gain a special d20. They can use this d20 to give advantage to any ability check, attack roll, or saving throw they make. After that use, the d20, it is lost. And then we've got Life's Yeast, which is very rare. It says this yeast can be used to restore you to life once if you have been dead no longer than 30 days. However, the yeast also symbiotically bonds with you and can only be removed by the spell Greater Restoration. If the yeast is removed, you die and can only be returned to life via the spell Resurrection. However, if the yeast is left bonded to you, then you now gain several special abilities. As an action, you can invoke the yeast to bloat your form. If you are smaller than large, you become a large-sized creature. While in this state, you have advantage on strength checks and strength savings throws. All of your melee weapon attacks deal an extra 1d6 damage on a hit. You can maintain this large state until you take a single instance of fire or cold damage greater than your level. So lots of fun stuff going on in here. If you want to bring something memorable to the bakery, this really gives you that option, and I'm excited about it. I think it's cool that Isaac is branching into this, and I look forward to seeing more of that. But check it out now under Weird Stuff I Found in the Bakery. Next we have You Can't Kill the Boogeyman, a seasonal slasher horror adventure for PCs levels 6 to 8 by Thomas Kolar. It's 99 cents for 20 pages. It says the PCs attempt a routine job delivering supplies to the town of Haddlefeld for the Harvest Eve festival. On the road, they draw the attention of the Shape, the terrible agent of the gods of slaughter and death. Will they survive? You Can't Kill the Boogeyman is a setting-neutral adventure for PCs level 6 to 8 inspired by John Carpenter's 1978 horror masterpiece Halloween. It also expands the horror potential with Haddlefeld, a Ravenloft domain of dread inspired by Halloween franchise with a surprising Dark Lord. So, Halloween is one of my favorite horror movies and certainly trilogies or series out there. So, I was excited to see that somebody had taken inspiration from it. In past weeks, we've seen modules inspired by the Goonies and other classic films. So it's exciting when we come upon these. So this one has a whole section here on each of the acts of the adventure, including 3. So it's got 3 acts. And then the Domain of Dread, Haddlefeld. So you get all the information on that Domain of Dread as well. And you can see it relies on a lot of the catchphrases from the original movies and kind of sets things up nicely for you. And then you've even got the Shape doing its slasher thing here. You've even got a picture here that resembles Michael Myers. And then you've got the whole Shape stat block with a challenge rating of 6, including legendary actions. So I think this could be really fun if you're a fan of Halloween or you just want a new Domain of Dread. This could be an option for you. But let's see what we can. It's showing in spread mode, so we can scroll through and look for something interesting here. So there's even some teens involved, giving it that slasher feel as well. So and it looks like there's some branch things. So the PCs stay together, or the PCs split up. So, as you know, in horror movies, you should never split up. So you've got the Last Assault, and of course the Shape. So it says the Devil's Eyes fighting the Shape. So let's read a little bit about that. It says this adventure is built around defeating a single monster. In order to make the encounter terrifying and memorable, I have a couple of suggestions. The most obvious thing is to use the Shape's legendary actions to keep the combat varied in brutality. Most of them impose an effect on the victim beyond simple loss of HP. If you are planning to do 2 or more Shape attacks, I suggest saving the Looming Strike and Pinning Strike legendary actions until the final fight to make it suitably climactic. In that case, here are some other combat suggestions for the Shape. You don't want your PCs making a circle around the Shape and everyone exchanging stabs until someone runs out of HP. You also have the problem of the action economy. If all the PCs are all attacking the Shape and he can only attack 1 or 2 PCs at a time, a lot of the suspense is gone. The adventure is designed to have the Shape attacks be in the middle to contain the PCs and generate a tight, claustrophobic atmosphere. The Shape should use his shove and pin abilities to separate one PC from the others and concentrate on that PC for a round or 2 before attacking another target, forcing the others to constantly shift their position and adjust their tactics, even moving victims into separate rooms. Involve the furniture, either having the Shape hurl people into it, damaging them and knocking them prone, or giving cover for the PCs to hide behind. Another possible tactic, if you want to keep the fight claustrophobic, is that if the PCs are inside a room, have the Shape teleport to the door behind them and lock that door. And then there's some DCs for the lock, etc. So yeah, and then you've got all those options over here. You got the Smashing Strike, Looming Strike, Pinning Strike, Hunter, etc. So yeah, I like that the author is giving you those tactics and strategy so that you can make it have even more of a slasher movie horror feel. And you could even take some of this and create your own sort of slasher character or monster, and just use some of these elements and these tricks like the teleportation and locking the door, right? You could use some of that as well, even beyond this adventure. And it doesn't have to be necessarily run at Halloween. I mean, it can be any time of year in these domains. As the DM, you can decide, hey, it's Halloween, even though in real life, we're in February. So I think it's going to give you lots of options, especially if you're a fan of horror movies or slashers. So check it out in the links below under You Can't Kill the Boogeyman and give it a click. Well, that's our last DM's Guild title for this week. We're going to move on to DriveThruRPG, but before we do, Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment. We will respond to you. Let me know what books interest you this week. And be sure to follow us on our social media at Splinterverse everywhere, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. Remember, we just launched a new program. We're giving you free content every week. This week we released a D6 table of magic book names, and we had a cool trinket related to a mask, all free for you on our social media channels. Plus, every Monday we're giving those money saving Mondays with exclusive discounts only available to you on third-party books. So you want to make sure you are tuned in by following us in these social media places that are out there. And then click those links down below. All these authors have worked so hard. They put their blood, sweat, and tears into these books. Consider purchasing them and leaving them a comment or a review to encourage them. Follow them on socials as well. Let's keep building this community, keep encouraging people, and supporting these wonderful efforts that come out week after week. I mean, we cover so many titles, and we don't even cover every single title. And there's so many coming out every week, so we want to keep encouraging these peoples that are out there making great content for us. And if you purchase anything after you click those links, you're going to help the channel, as a small percentage comes back to us through the affiliate program. And if you're feeling especially inspired today to help us, we do have 5 books listed in the video description that Splinterverse Media released in 2021, including the Feywild Companion, our platinum best-selling book on the Feywild, with adventures, subclasses, spells, etc. And then you've got Potions Unlocked, which is over 100 pages of potions with full backstories, sensory descriptions, optional rules, and potion locations, including fully stocked vendors, and that's print on demand or digital. And we've got Fizban's Vault of Draconic Secrets with dragon-themed subclasses, spells, horde magic items, familiars. It's all in there. And then we've got Van Richten's Labyrinth of Lineages that goes into lineages and how they work and gives you optional rules to help manage them, as well as 4 very distinct, unique lineages suitable for any setting. And then finally, we have Secrets of the Draugr with a brand new race combining the Duergar and the Drow in unexpected ways, including deities and a new fortune-telling method. So another fun title for you to check out as well in those links below. So we really appreciate all the support, and now let's go on to DriveThruRPG. Our first DriveThruRPG title this week is Amulet at Watcher's Pool, a Freebone Vale adventure from TM Van Dalen. It says, help the Church of Innas stop a dangerous cult from obtaining a powerful artifact. And it's $4.95 for 35 pages, already a best copper seller in its first week. It's got 7 ratings with an average rating of 5 stars, so off to a great start. And it says it's a one-shot adventure for 4th level characters that will bring your party into the dangerous Spirit Lands, a deserted area in Freebone Vale. There, a group of cultists that have split off from the Church of Innas have managed to take over a temple. Can you recover the Amulet of the Watcher before it's too late? And it's a 4 to 6 hour adventure for tier 1 characters, and it has enough material for 1 or 2 full sessions depending on how thorough your party is. You've got a printer-friendly version. You get various maps that are high-res and instructions for using your maps in your favorite VTT application. And it's been play-tested extensively, and the current version is the result of feedback, so that's nice. I like that. All right, let's take a look inside. So you get to see 20 of those 35 pages, so almost the whole thing. And you can see it's got the background, then hooks, and then information on running the adventure. And then the adventure is broken into 5 chapters with kind of a denouement at the end here. And then you've got your NPCs and monsters as well as maps. And then they've got like a flow chart showing you how it's going to flow. And then you've got running the adventure, adjusting the adventure, and then lots of flavor text for each of the areas as you're going through with some really nice artwork. And there's a good map of the town. And then you've got some random encounters, locations in and around Freebone Vale, and then additional random encounters, an arrival at the Beast Banquet. Then you've got Artifact Hunt, the Cult Ambush, and again more maps throughout. So lots of beautiful information, so that you can quickly get some background on these areas as you're going through and reading the flavor text. You've got background on all the little points of interest, as well as some random encounter options. I love that there's random encounters in here because you might want to play this several times, and mixing it up and having some random stuff is always helpful. And you can always use those random encounters if you don't play the full adventure, right? You can have just some random stuff going on. And then I love the artifact hunt maps here. Look at how cool those look. So yeah, let's find an area that we can read that's not too spoilery, because I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to play through this if you're a player watching this. So let's see. Got the adventure synopsis, using the adventure, adapting it. So let's read about the cultist takeover here. It says the adventure begins when the party is summoned to the Church of Enos in Fogsore's Watch, far away from the dangerous spirit lands. This church is the main house of worship for Enos, god of all fortune. Here, inhabitants of the city come to pray for good fortune. When you and the players are ready to get started, read the following text out loud. You're standing on the steps of the largest religious building in the city. This morning, you received an urgent message from Tovak Pharaohhorn, the priest at the head of this church. The message said that Tovak had an urgent problem that required care and attention from a group of seasoned adventurers, but was vague about any other details. The building is large and imposing, as if commanding respect for just being here, this high up on the mountain. It is made from large blocks of marble. A history check reveals that there are no quarries that produce stone like this in the valley, which means all blocks must have been brought up here using the trail. So it took a lot of work to build that. It says, call to the church. The characters want to explore Fogsore's Watch before entering the church. Skip to the next section before returning here. If the party enters the church, read the following. When you enter the church, Tovak is already waiting for you, looking around nervously. Ah, there you are. Finally, he begins. I've been waiting here all day. You see, we are in a bit of a pickle. And then it says Tovak begins to explain, hurried and stumbling over the words, about a group of cultists that have split off from the Church of Enos, calling themselves the Children of Dusk. Originally they were followers, but they've twisted Enos and want to use his power for evil purposes. Until now, the true followers of Enos have left them alone, not wanting to escalate the situation. However, it seems that decision has been made for them. So yeah, very interesting kickoff with this cool church and characters, and it's going to lead you through all of these areas to deal with getting to this artifact hunt, and who knows what lies in here for you. But I think it looks really well put together. Got some great ratings already. It's only $4.95 for the 35 pages. So I think you should check it out under Amulet at Watcher's Pool in the links below and give it a click. Next, we have Bottomless Pit of Zorth. This one is for classic D&D, first edition, second edition, basic, Beckme, etc. And it's for level 3 to 5 characters, available for $7.50 in PDF plus files, or you can do the hardcover for $20 or both for $23.50. And it's by G. Hawkins, and it's 54 pages. And the print version is black and white, but it's printed it says color here because they want that thicker, higher quality paper. It says this Osric OSR adventure can be run as a standalone or as part of the Gunderholfen and Darkness at Neckme setting. It includes approximately 65 keyed locations plus random side event and encounter tables. It's heavy on curious oddities, vicious oozes, and squishy mutated monstrosities, with a healthy dose of push the red button and see what happens interaction thrown in for good measure. So it says the Bottomless Pit of Zorth has stood as a place of inscrutable mystery and dread since time immemorial. Yet not few of the brave and reckless have tried their luck within its deep and reportedly never-ending depths. Those lucky enough to survive can attest to its apparent bottomless nature. but spoke more of the alienness and oddness of the place, the unfathomable purpose of the giant rotating pin that pierces down into the depths, the otherworldly machinery, and the crazed and demented denizens that for reasons unknown defended the hellish hole. These survivors often left with a sense that there was a deliberate design and purpose to the pit, and that a terrible but inhuman intellect ruled and guided all, though none have yet seen or met this assuredly dreadful master. So, and then the maps are both keyed and unkeyed for VTT play, but you can see the fun old school style black and white art like that. Let's take a look inside. So you can see 20 of those 54 pages with, again, some more fun black and white art. And it goes through all the levels. There's 6 different levels, some new monsters, some rival NPCs, and a mutation table, and a player handout. So lots of stuff. You got rumors. We'll read some of those, and some hooks. Surrounding lands, travel to the pit, and you got this big hex with a lot of information on it. This is the area. Overview of the dungeon. Rotating pin sections. I mean, this looks really well put together. The art seems perfectly created for it. Yeah, this is taking me back to some of those old school modules for sure. Definitely has that feel. Even, you know, just to having a piece of art like this at the top of the page, just so nice. If you really long for those old adventures or miss those and want to feel like you're discovering a new one, I think this is really gonna fit the bill for you. So you've got hooks. The first one is a treasure map. The characters acquire a treasure map, see the player handout, making inquiries in Longfeld or other towns. Allows the PCs to learn the information presented in the background given above, plus other rumors as detailed hereafter. And then the second one is overhear a conversation. While the PCs are at a bar, in a market, or other public spaces, they overhear a group of adventurers discussing daring the dangers of the Bottomless Pit of Zorth. So the rumors are true, Yarg. The gem of metamorphosis can be found there. Prepare your things. We leave for the Bottomless Pit of Zorth. Once preparations are made, we must get there before Balfour's men do. And so this leads into the rival NPCs if you want to have them also competing for this reward. And then there's a whole rumor table. The first one is a blazing meteor struck the ground, and so hot was its passing it burned a hole to the center of the earth. And then another rumor, number 3, is Zorth is said to be a great and powerful demon. And it tells you whether they're false or true. But since you might be a player, I'm not going to tell you. You'll have to look for yourself. But it seems really fun, really thematic, and gives you that feel. I mean, just in the little bit we read, I really definitely felt taken back to the first edition, second edition, which is when I started playing Basic and all that stuff. So I definitely have fond memories of some of those times. And yeah, I think you should check it out under Bottomless Pit of Zorth in the links below and give it a click. Next we have Calidar Alfdaín Ascendant, and it starts with CAL3 because this is part of a series from Calidar Publishing and Bruce Hurd with this beautiful cover. I think it's stunning. And lots of options for purchase. $9.90 for that watermark PDF, but you can also go with premium color, hardcover, softcover, standard color, combinations, etc. So I won't read all of those, but just keep in mind that you have lots of options here. It's 132 pages, and it's for OSR. And this features 2 warring realms of elves, cursed forests, druids, rangers, and living skyships. And you know, it's really from those Mystara gazetteers back in the day. And I will tell you, out of all the things released back in the day, the Mystara gazetteers were my number one. That and Cities of Mystery box set. Those two, I just live for those. I would sit there and read it over and over and make notes about, you know, the characters that I would create if I had friends, which I didn't. So I was creating all this stuff on my own. Hence the active imagination that I have. But yes, I would just pore over those gazetteers. So, you know, seeing Bruce do this stuff is exciting because that means more from that imagination, and I love that. So it again takes you back, and it's exciting. So There's an opening chapter novelette, which is nice. So you get 18 pages of story, and that can really set the tone and get you in the mood. And it's the third episode of the Star Phoenix Adventures, a skyship exploring the Great Caldera. So this is a part of a series. I think we've covered at least one of the others on this show, and it's just exciting. I mean, you can see this map again. This map also reminds me of some of the older Gazetteer maps. And then it unveils the history of the elves, covering the events in their ancestral moon, Aloria, and in the Confederacy of Alfdaín on Calidar itself, a former colony of Aloria. The history tells of a bitter rivalry between the old Elven Empire and the younger independent nation. And then there's geography. The chapter focuses on Alfdaín, describing the lay of the land, the people, the economy, and the region's climates. More than 12 full-page maps are featured, including a monumental 9-page atlas. So that's awesome. And then there's Riddle of the Woods, a sinister event. Care of the old empire's nefarious machinations corrupted some of the forest covering Alfdaín. The evil plot lies behind this magical plague, threatening to overtake the whole of the Confederacy. Each chained region's effects receive a detailed description. And then the Law of the Sword. Alfdaín features an alliance of 3 sovereign realms. Who holds the power in each dominion, how they interact with each other, what armed forces they possess, how the traditional clans work, and what laws are in effect come through these pages. And I mean, there's just so much. I mean, they've got all these sections. I mean, look at this map of Methuen, and then you've got the map of the planet itself. All of this, both hemispheres here. Or 2 hemispheres, I should say. And then there's the Periton of Methuen. I mean, this will likely inspire you. I'm now writing and publishing D&D books, and some of that is because I read these awesome Mystara things back in the day. So I think if you can find the time to get this book and read it and look at all this stuff, it's going to inspire creations from you, whether it's homebrew stuff that you never publish, or maybe you're a creator and you want to publish, or you're an aspiring creator. So, and you get deck plans for the ships, which is really fun, and you get to explore all of the locations of Calidar with these fun little ships, sky ships that are in here, and it's part of a real detailed series, because those gazetteers were super detailed, and these books are super detailed as well. And you can get print versions, so you can really just curl up in front of a fire or outside and just let your imagination take you to those other places. Now, the full-size preview unfortunately wasn't working, so I was trying to get to that there, and it didn't work. But we can look at least a little bit at the interior, and you can see it's got some real nice layout. Got that cool parchment feel to the papers, and you can see just lovingly created maps and a history. And I think it'd be really special if you had a table where you were offering this exploration through Calidar, because that would be a unique experience for people to go through and experience places like, look at how detailed this is. I mean, you could really make this a home base for a campaign. And this is just the first. There's a bunch of Calidar stuff down here that you could get and really just put it all together. There's even a preview here from Bruce. So I encourage you to check it all out, get on board the skyship, and get on the journey into Calidar, and just have a good old time. It's under Calidar in the links below. Give it a click. Next we have Epic Encounters, Extreme Weather and Terrain, Acid from MageGate. And we've covered books from MageGate before where they went through the 250 best magic items and for various classes. And so now they've turned their attention to Extreme Weather and Terrain. And it comes with a variety of magical and non-magical weather and or terrain templates themed by elemental, extra planar, and damage type. And then if you have all of these, then you'll never run out of ideas for environments. And so in this one, you get rules and new monster ideas and treasure ideas for acidic slime, slippery slime, acid rain, acidic vapors, quick slime, and quick slime geyser. And then there's options to increase the threat of your magical terrains, right down to granting hostile creatures in them limited spell lists and or other terrain themed abilities. And they've already got a planned release schedule for all the other ones, including air, cold, earth, fire, necrotic, poison, radiant, spirit, and water. So, that's pretty ambitious to pretty much it looks like every week almost they're going to be coming out with a new epic encounters. And these are not small books, they're 20-page books. So let's look inside here. So you've got exhaustion rules reviewed here, and then introduction, and then the rules. And then it starts going into acid, starting with acidic slime and how it's a magical terrain and all the things associated with that, options to increase the threat. And then it's going to go through, of course, those 5 other, let's see, total of, 5 other ones. So they have a total of 6 different terrains. So yeah, it really makes it distinct. We talked about weather a little bit earlier in this episode with the Hex Flower weather pattern. So you could combine these and have maybe an acid acidic slime magical terrain be on a hex flower or something for encountering. So it says magical terrain, acid slime, ground base. This is an area filled with acidic slime. It may be the work of a god of oozes, a great old one, or the byproduct of a congregation of aberrations or oozes, or it could be the result of an altar, artifact, idol, or relic that has been activated or installed. It radiates conjuration acid magic. Area of effect, any, usually confined to a cave, complex ruins, shrine, or tunnels containing aberrations or oozes. The slime can cover all or almost every surface, or be a clear path of slime trails made by these creatures, or it could fill up pits, pools, or even weird underground rivers. If you wish to expand the area of effect beyond its original borders to threaten wider areas, simply expand it by 90 feet per minute. This terrain can only potentially expand a number of miles equal to the CR of the primary monster. And then recognize danger, make a perception, nature, or survival check to recognize the transition from normal to difficult. Dispel magic, they have a whole rules on that. And then difficult terrain, you move at half speed. And then this terrain deals 1d4 points of acid damage per round. Acid magic, all acid magic has its DC increased by +2 and deals an extra 1d6 acid damage. Tracking and stealth rolls suffer disadvantage due to slime. Any non-glass or non-magical item dropped into the slime is destroyed in 3 rounds if not removed and cleaned off. And then the boss fight, the primary monster or villain in this terrain gains acidic aura. So that's a whole special ability. And then you've got a terrain anchor, duration, and then options to increase. So it's really detailed magical terrain options, and they're all focused on acid because, again, they're going to do a book on cold, air, earth, fire, necrotic, poison, all the different elements and damage types, it looks like, or a lot of them. And that's exciting because it's always nice to mix it up, give the players something they haven't seen before. So I think you should check it out under Epic Encounters in the links below and give it a click. Next, we've got Fallsea, Edge of the World by the Mad Looter, Russell Charlton, James McKidd, and it is $14.99 for 82 pages. And it says, for the Mad Looter, the adventure is primary. We aspire to inspire your game and provide deep role-playing opportunities set within a unique and living setting. We want you to choose what you use, and we will support our world with a digital tool set, giving you the detail that you need at your fingertips. This adventure setting is all about the unique city Fallsea, which is the capital of New Ilithium. New Ilithium is a collection of islands off the coast of the continent Tazadon, which is set in the world of Lone Sorrel. Lone Sorrel is a world created for adventure, and we have created Fallsea as a convenient starting location for you to begin this adventure. And you can see from the cover this giant waterfall falling off a cliff, but then there's you can see inside the cliffs there's some residents or people living in there potentially. And then you can see in this cutaway that how that works. The river flows and falls down, but then there's 3 stories of the city with a docks down here. I love that. I think it's a really cool design, very distinct, great starting location, home base for adventures. And then you've even got a video from the Mad Looter on this that you can watch, and that's exciting. So yeah, I definitely want to get this. It just seems really fun. So you've got all the information on Fallsea, It says overview, the demographics, and then here's that beautiful cutaway and some more background on the location, all about the Ilth people. And then there's like basically a sub race of them, and then politics and military. And then you've got the military structure, magic, sanctioned casters, etc. So all kinds of distinct information about the setting to bring it to life for you. Let me see what I can read that might be perfect for this. It says New Ilthium is an island group of 3 situated in the western sea beyond Wormgood Spire's barrier islands. It consists of a main island named Ilthium and 2 minor islands. The heavily wooded northern island is named Linneret and is known for its prolific bird life. The hilly wooded southwestern island is named Orans and is largely untamed and uninhabited island that is seldom visited. New Ilthium is a frontier civilization. There are numerous small family-based holdings scattered throughout the island of Ilthium itself, with individual populations of roughly 30 to 150. These holdings usually consist of 2 to 5 families known as freeholders. Each family has a main trade, such as weavers, tanners, stoneworkers, which is used to make goods needed by the holding, and any excess is used to trade for what they cannot make themselves. All holding families know or learn how to plant, harvest crops, hunt, gather, work wood, and build. There are a few holdings that have a blacksmith. These are usually in high demand and have larger populations than average. These family groups can be in a state of flux as some holdings are given up and the families move back to a major holding like Fallsea. A small holding may not survive the winter due to being ill-prepared or being raided by goblins or human bandits. A holding that is present leading into winter may not be populated the same time next year. So, good background flavor on these small little populations, and that, this is a bigger holding. And so, yeah, it's really nice to get a sense of the culture and the society that this is placed in. But it's just really giving you some detail with some stunning artwork. I mean, I think it's worth the purchase alone just to be able to look at all this wonderful artwork. So yeah, I'm excited for this. I think you should get it. It's in the links below under Fallsea, Edge of the World. Give it a click. Next we have In the Dead of Winter, a Night Owl Odyssey's adventure. And it's $4 for 14 pages, 5th edition. So suffering through the brutal winters of the far north for many years, the modest village of Astrakhan has had its fair share of heartache, but none quite as severe as this. Each night, the townsfolk's homes are assailed by vicious creatures in shape of their lost loved ones as they fare through the worst storms they have seen in decades. Some say the village has angered the old gods, and the only thing to do is repent. Can you help Astrakhan before the cold overtakes the village for good? So it's designed for 46 characters of 10 to 13th level, and is optimized for 4 characters with an average party level of 12. It includes 2 battle maps, 3 fully illustrated magic items, 2 music tracks, and 4 custom monsters with 6 tokens. So this little video down here shows the maps, the tokens, the music. I'm going to mute it because the music, it might get the video to have some trouble on YouTube. But I wanted you to at least get to see some of the maps and the tokens, so you can kind of get a feel for it. But yeah, I think it's an interesting concept dealing with all these lost loved ones in this storm, and you can see the map looks really, really nice. And you've got all these little tokens they've given you as well to make it even more flavorful. Yeah, look at that. Little creatures and some sort of tree, and then there you've got your NPCs and stat blocks, etc. So yeah, I think they're fully illustrated, beautiful illustrations. It just looks really fun, and it's only $4. So I think you should check it out in the links below under In the Dead of Winter and give it a click. Next we have the Kyeton Killers, 6th level adventure from Craven's Keep, $4.99 for 12 pages. And it's for 5th edition, and it's optimized for 4 players of 6th level. It works well set near a small village or on the outskirts of an urban metropolis, somewhere in an empire, republic, or militia-owned inspection outposts. The Kyeton Killers are a fierce and powerful gang of cutthroats led by a human female necromancer named Kyeton. Vel came from a line of arcane wielders who became disappointed with her magical abilities. The Kyetons proceeded to cast Vel out of the family home and ostracize her from their lineage. Vel grew bitter over the years and has been attempting to grow powerful enough to slay her entire family. This bloodthirsty ambition began to attract other hateful kinds, and soon a band of killers was born. And it's got a new magic item, a 6th level necromancer villain, 2-leveled battle map that's fully colored. And let's take a look inside. And always they have some really fun art in Craven's Keep's titles. And so you can see here they've got these nice maps with 2 levels here labeled, approach, all the points of interest described. And let's zoom in and read a little bit for you. So the adventure hooks, it says your journey along the road continues. You soon notice a group of 3 dwarven men traveling with a cart of goods. They try to catch your attention as they meet you along the road. If the characters converse with the dwarves leader of the group, the leader of the group conveys the following. I advise ye turn back and find another way. In another mile is an imperial outpost that has been taken over by bandits. We discovered their ruse and turned back before they could catch us. The dwarves' names are Yuri, Baldric, and Mason. Yuri is the one that does the talking. They are metalworkers looking to trade some armor in the city. When they approached the outpost, Yuri noticed the soldiers' tone and dress did not match imperial soldiers, and also knew this outpost has never enforced tolls. So that's just one hook, and they've got 3 here. Another one is your journey along the road continues. You soon see a large wooden sign that reads in common, beware killers ahead. The sign was placed by a local farmer in hopes that it will warn travelers to stay away from the checkpoint. The farmer expects the Empire will intervene soon. So, and that's just 2 of the 3 hooks they give you. But like I said, they've got so much fleshed out in here and really fun artwork accompanying everything. So I think you should check it out under the Kyeton Killers in the links below. Give it a click. Next we have the Lazy DM's Companion, Guidelines and Inspiration to Help You Run Awesome 5th Edition Games. And it's from Sly Flourish. And it's already a best Electrum seller in its first week. So it's sold over 250 copies. And it's got 107 ratings with an average of 5 stars. And, you know, Sly Flourish is great. They do a lot of great work for the community and helping you have your best game, which I really appreciate. And I was so excited to see that they released a title on here this week so that I could talk about them finally. And yeah, it's 64 pages for $10. And it's a book of guidelines and inspirational generators to help you build, prepare, and run awesome D&D games. And it works in tandem with their previous releases, which streamline play and fire off your imagination to build awesome and unique worlds for you and your players to explore. Each page of the 64-page book offers useful guidelines, an adventure or campaign generator, or a versatile map within which to build your own adventures, including things like tools for improvisation, quick tricks for lazy DMs, building an RPG group, safety tools, a session 0 checklist, one-on-one guidelines, playing online, running single session games, teaching new players, strong starts, etc. I mean, there's just a ton of stuff, and that's just general stuff. And then they go into the 5e tools like options for first level play, lazy combat encounters, stress effects, monster difficulty dials. I like that. Campaign tools, including all kinds of generators like NPCs, villains, gods, cults. And then you've got adventure inspiration with your core adventure generator, quest templates, haunted lairs. I mean, this is packed of stuff. And, you know, I've seen some excerpts from the past stuff that Sly Flourish has done. It is always so well done and thoughtful and inspiring. So I really feel like if you want to be inspired, if you want something to support you, then Sly Flourish is really a dependable option, because I mean 107 ratings at 5-star when it just came out and it's already best Electrum. I mean, just think about that. This is seriously good if it's going to have that good of ratings and sell through in the first week. And you know, I encourage you to check out Sly Flourish's website and their media, because they're also not just selling books but giving you advice outside of things that you pay for as well. So when I see that, I always like to support that, because that means that they truly care about the community, that they're not just trying to take your money through products, that they're giving you stuff as well. So I always love that. And so they have a publisher preview, so the preview is going to look a little different than the normal full-size previews, but it's nice because you get to see it even bigger. So we're in here, we get to see 17 of those pages. So you got the introduction, kind of how to use those random tables, and then you get right into it with the tools for improvisation. So we'll look at some of these in a minute. Building an RPG group, RPG safety tools, it gives you various options, and then building situations. That alone. Spiral campaigns. So spiral campaign development builds campaign worlds starting in the area immediately surrounding the character, and then spirals out, expanding the world as the characters experience it. And so this whole section is how do you do that? And it just goes on. Lazy combat encounters, difficulty dials, we talked about that. Wilderness exploration, creating secrets and clues. I mean, this is just packed with inspiration. I mean, especially if you like to homebrew, you don't like to maybe run published adventures, this is really going to spark your imagination. Even if you're just creating like a solo adventure situation, I could see lots and lots of value in here. I feel like every page just has value on it. So you really can't go wrong with purchasing this. So let's go back up and we'll talk about one of the improvisation tools, and then we'll look at maybe one of the other pages just to give you a sampling. But I encourage you to come read this preview yourself and purchase it. So let's look at improvised damage. Decide on a challenge rating for the source of the damage from CR1, low challenge, to CR20, very high challenge. Then roll a number of damage dice for a particular kind as follows. So single target damage would be CR times 5d10, or multiple target damage would be CR times 3d6. This challenge rating can be thought of as a roughly equivalent to the average level of a group of characters. However, don't automatically choose a challenge rating based on the level of the characters. Rather, the level of the challenge might be higher or lower than the characters depending on the situation. So this is good. Maybe you don't have everything exactly mapped out, and so you can use this scale to come up with some damage on the fly, right? Your players are going to throw curveballs at you if you're a DM. And so having a book like this that's going to give you a way to quickly come up with some damage is just invaluable. So yeah, even some names to have on hand. You got first names, organization names, etc. But let's look at building situations. So DMs often build adventures from a string of sequential encounters, matching monsters and environments to be run in succession. Instead, consider building adventures around a larger situation, a location, a number of inhabitants with particular behaviors, and a goal for the characters. That way, instead of simply playing through an outline of scenes, players create a more dynamic scenario by choosing how their characters approach this location and its inhabitants to accomplish their goal. Creating a situation for an adventure isn't as easy as coming up with those three elements: location, inhabitants, and goals, and seeing how they might work together. And they've got some examples and then some tips for building situations, and then you've got complications, of course, for your situations. But let's just take one of each of these three things and see if we can invent kind of a little situation together. But first, before I do that, I'm going to read one of these. So it says, a corrupt lord worships an archdevil within his keep built on a rocky hill above the local village. That's our location, which might be set up using a map, right? So we've got a D20 table of inhabitants, goals, and locations. So let's just pick one. We'll go with a fortified town, number 16. And then for the inhabitants, we'll go with some human bandits. And then the goals, let's do recover secret plans. That sounds fun. So if we have a fortified town and then this human bandits, maybe the situation is the fortified town, even though it's fortified, got overrun and the human bandits have taken it over. And even though it just seems like general debauchery and looting and bad behavior, pillaging, the truth is, the situation is, because we're talking about building situations here, The situation is that they want to recover some secret plans that are in this fortified town. And those plans could be for taking over a kingdom, or plans for, military strike, or plans for building some sort of powerful weapon. Who knows? It's up to you. But that's the thing, is that these are prompting you to come up with things, and then we could have a complication over here. So something's on fire, maybe. All of this is going on, something's on fire, or maybe it's even threatening the place where the secret plans are. So easily build situations just by rolling dice, or just picking like I did. I didn't roll any dice. I just looked through it and picked some stuff. And that's just one page. In one page, we came up with just one possibility, and there's so many in here. I mean, the value in this book is enormous, as with all Sly Flourish stuff. So you got to get it, and it's in the links below under Lazy DM's Companion. So give it a click. Next, we have Legendary Oracles for Pathfinder First Edition from Legendary Games. And it's $9.99 for 46 pages. And it's the latest volume in their series of player-focused supplements, delivering divine alternatives for everyone's favorite charismatic and cursed spellcaster. Touched by the gods, oracles are both empowered and cursed in ways that make normal life impossible, and the call to adventure impossible to deny. Already one of the most customizable classes to play, this new supplement offers even more ways to define and refine an oracle's role in your game. Rather than a redesign of an already perfect class, we offer a varied assortment of new options to personalize your character, with inspiration drawn from myth, folklore, and of course legend, including 12 mysteries, 14 archetypes, 12 oracle curses, 9 class bonuses, 21 feats, 8 spells, as well as new options such as mystery familiars, oracle burdens, rune casting, and more selections that will enrich your oracle with divine dynamism. Make the best of your blessing and the worst of your curse with this amazing 46-page Pathfinder role-playing game class supplement. And it does sound fun. I think the Oracle is a fun class. So you've got the alternative class. Just the mystery familiars alone sounds fun. You get to see 5 of those 46 pages. And then you've got runic divination. And then a new encounter specialization in this little sneak peek. So let's read about the mystery familiars a little bit. When a deity chooses a reluctant mortal as an agent, it is not rare for a familiar to be sent to watch over her progress and make sure she doesn't stray from the right path. Just as a sorcerer can gain a bloodline familiar, or a witch a patron familiar, an oracle has the option to choose a mystery familiar at first level, treating her class level as her wizard level for the purposes of this ability. A mystery familiar will more often than not take the form of the deity's sacred animal and possesses a special ability indicated below according to the oracle's mystery. So then, you have all these options, such as Bones, Death Hound. The familiar is able to smell the grim scent of death. It gains Death Watch as a constant spell-like ability. And then you've got Runic Divination. Words have power. The written word has even more power. In our world, the Norse and Finns were among the many people who believed that carving a letter from the alphabet, a rune, singing it aloud, or drawing it from the satchel in a divination could reveal or even influence the future. Magic is spelling, enchantment is singing, and the Italian incantare, bards, scalds, and of course oracles were experts of runes and entrusted with reading and interpreting them in mysterious rituals. Like tarot cards, runes can also be adapted to Pathfinder, providing more flavor and options, whether for specialist or secular characters. Here we give a first schematic attempt to do this. Runic options already existing in the game can also be modified to be integrated with this system. So you can have runes form a horoscope, or a rune related to a skill, or a rune can permanently or temporarily be worn by a creature. Unlucky or inverted runes can be invoked. Runes can be used singularly or combined. Runes can be used for divination. And then you've got all kinds of variations, and then here's various effects for your runes in this table. So fun stuff for oracles. If you're an oracle, having a divination thing is, kind of key to the name, right? So I think you should check it out if you play Pathfinder or you're interested in using this as inspiration for a 5th edition homebrew. So look for it under Legendary Oracles. and give it a click. Next, we have Mark of the Wraith, or Wraith, by Peter Rudin Burgess and Parts Per Million, $4.95, already a best copper seller, 41 pages. And it says, it starts with essential elements. These are things that must exist. You can change it to fit your world or setting. Establishing questions can be used in two ways. If this is intended to be used as a one-shot adventure, you can put the questions to your players to help embed them into the adventure in the world. If you want to integrate this adventure into your existing setting, the establishing questions will help you weave this into your world rather than just parachuting it in with no connection to the rest of your world or lore. There's also a chain of cause and effect. This allows you to answer questions pitched by your players when suddenly they want to talk to a sage or speak to the dead or anything else you could not plan for. This adventure is set up to allow easy improvisation. Each element is discrete and easy for you to find. The information you need is not mixed in with descriptive prose and game mechanics. And there's alternative encounters, and the DC tests are highlighted in bold. Fun parchment style background. Let's look inside. You get to see all the pages, so you can really decide if this works for you. But you've got all the establishing stuff, including that improvisation stuff we talked about in the DC test, and then all the labeled locations, and then some of the monsters, etc. So let's scroll through and show you a little bit of it. And we're not going to scroll through the whole book because you can literally see the whole book here. But you've got the main level, all that good stuff. And some fun artwork to support everything. You've got all your stat blocks. So let's go back up here and read a little bit more about some of these things here. So, Mark of the Wraith, at its heart, is a simple quest to retrieve a magical artifact to save an innocent NPC. In essence, it is a mercy mission. This artifact is protected by immortal guardians to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. Mark of the Wraith takes place inside a complex cut into a rock face. It is of a striking appearance, and anyone living nearby would notice it. So either the location is a prominent local feature, or it is somehow hard to reach, possibly only a local rumor or place of folklore. The adventure requires an innocent person to be in mortal danger. The victim has become marked, a visible tattoo on the palm of their hand. The mark cannot be removed by traditional means and is not a curse. The effect of the mark is that the terrible unseen creatures, invisible stalkers, are hunting the person. Even if one is slain, another takes up the hunt. Ideally, this person should have a bond with one of the characters. This adventure requires a quest giver, someone with sufficient arcane lore who can recognize the mark and connect it with the artifact that can erase it or cleanse the victim. And so then it gives you the questions you ask, like where is the innocent victim in your world, who is going to act as a quest giver, etc. So it kind of helps you flesh it out. And I like that it's letting you be engaged in creating the story. So lots of fun here for Mark of the Wraith, and it's in the links below, so give it a click. Next we have Nightfell, a Feast of Death from Mana Project Studio, only $2.99 for 28 pages for this 5th edition adventure, and you get both the Italian and English language version, and it says it's designed for 14th level characters, but you can adapt the difficulty, and it's a sequel to one of the past ones, but you can make it on your own as well. The characters face a reborn cult of the serpent in an attempt to bring it down before it returns to being the threat it once was. Despite being a linear adventure, the characters will have to choose how best to deal with the enemy, as they will soon realize that using violence could turn against them. And they've even got a little video on the Nightfell stuff. We've talked about the campaign setting itself, which is really, really fun. I definitely still need to go back and get the original campaign setting books. They're pretty cool. We covered them in past episodes. But beautifully laid out as usual from them. You get to see 6 of the 28 pages with all this fun, inspirational artwork. And then here's the intro to the adventure and a new quest involving the player characters, etc. So let's read a little bit about that. If the characters have completed the adventure Vengeance is Mine, they are now held in high esteem by the masters of tradition, who turn to them naturally to get them involved in this adventure. If they have not played Vengeance is Mine, it will be thanks to their other heroic deeds that they will be hastily summoned to Eberron to receive the assignment. So very, very cool. And it says, the White City is still recovering from the events that happened in Vengeance's mind. If this adventure has been played, read or paraphrase the following. Only 24 hours have passed since you returned from the Enclave after defeating the Ghost Witch. Surprisingly, you receive an invitation to the Citadel from Gideon Wraith, the young master of tradition who had previously engaged you. Oddly, he receives you in a back room of the Great Temple of Truth, almost as if he wants your meeting to remain secret. Once you arrive in the room, you notice the presence of other older masters watching in silence. Gideon appears much more nervous and wary than when you last met him, even though the city had fallen into chaos at the time. You notice that now his clothing is more refined, a sign that he has been promoted thanks to the part he played in the defeat of the witch. His eyes and hands are in constant motion as he finally begins to speak. So, very flavorful, well written, makes sense, especially leads on from that adventure. But again, all the Nightfell stuff is really interesting, beautifully. I mean, just even the borders of these pages are beautiful. So I think you're going to get some stuff out of this no matter what. And I mean, $2.99 for 28 pages is a pretty good price. So check it out under Nightfell in the links below and give it a click. And next we have Professor Gilroy's Guide to Fae by Never Not DM. And it's $19.99 for 125 pages. And it's got all kinds of fun stuff in it. It's got 50 new Fae creatures inspired by Celtic and Slavic myth. 3 lineages, so you can play as a descendant of powerful Fae creatures. Hand-drawn original art, encounter hooks, and monster tactics. It says, it brings you creatures that are more than just piles of hit points to be slaughtered by your players. Many of the creatures in the guide can be used as quest givers, beloved NPCs, or present challenges that cannot be solved through traditional means. Professor Gilroy's guide will give you the tools to create dynamic, memorable encounters both inside and outside of combat. But going beyond the creature design, each entry includes detailed lore, favored tactics, and encounter hooks to spark your imagination. Many of the entries include magical items and mystical boons as loot or rewards for your players. This potent combination leads you to spend more time playing and less time prepping. Altogether, you get 4 ancestries, 5 beautiful Feywild maps, 54 new beautifully illustrated creatures, and 200 plus adventure hooks. So very cool. And, Never Not DM's done a lot of other popular books, and this has a lot of uses. So you have Wild Beyond the Witchlight, where you could add some of these creatures in there to mix it up, or you could just be in the Feywild doing other things and use creatures. If you bought our book, Feywild Companion, if you're doing any of those adventures, you could work in some of these creatures, or even just have these creatures come out of the Feywild and be in the material plane, right? So lots and lots of places to work in these. And with some of the creature types, there really aren't that many creatures that are Fae in the published 5th edition stuff from Wizards of the Coast. So books like this and others can give you those creature types. So if you want to just surround your party by encounter after encounter of a certain creature type, you really need books like this to supplement your options. So looking inside, we get to see 41 of those 125 pages. And they've got all kinds of stuff from Alvin all the way to Yipu. And then they've got ancestries from Bodor to Vila. And you can see just really nice sketch style artwork. I like it. It gives you that flavor that goes along with this folklore inspiration, right? Just really well done and nice to look at as you browse through. You've got, of course, you've got your beautiful parchment background and your nicely, cleanly done stat blocks, but you still have all this beautiful artwork as well and text. And we're going to read one of the creatures at some point here, but I wanted to at least scroll through and just show you what awaits you, because I think there's so much in here. And I know there's a lot of people in the Feywild right now. I mean, playing encounters or adventures and stuff, and so you can really easily work these in. And the Fae don't just exist on the Feywild, right? They get out of the Feywild sometimes and go places, so you can throw a random Fae somewhere in the middle of something else. So let's read about Azria. Azria are small, timid water Fae that dwell in deep, cold lakes. Their skin is very light, almost sickly shade of blue, and cold and clammy to the touch. Outside of the water, and Azria's skin melts away in minutes. When threatened, the Azria can excrete a strong acid from their pores that can melt through steel as easily as flesh. A pair of vestigial wings hangs from their back, a possible relic from their evolution. Azria are nocturnal and usually only surface during a full moon. And then it says, children of the moon. Azria seem dependent on exposure to moonlight. Their skin repairs itself under the full moon, and they are most active under its light. In contrast, sunlight destroys their sensitive skin. I've heard many tales of an unknowing fisherman accidentally capturing an Azria only to have it melt into their nets. And collectors, despite their timid nature, Azria love collecting all manner of curiosities. And Azria's lair might contain everything from bells and shiny coins to broken bottles and fishing hooks. The best way to gain an Azria's trust is to offer it something it has never seen before. So yeah, and then it's got tactics in here and hooks for the Azria. So very well fleshed out monsters with all kinds of information to get you started, so that you don't feel like, okay, I have this monster, but like I don't have a hook, or I don't have a tactic, I don't have lore. It's got everything. It's got everything, and it's surrounded by beautiful layout and artwork, and I really think you owe it to yourself to check it out under Professor Gilroy's Guide to Fae, and the links below. Give it a click. Next, we have Ptolus, Return of the Ebon Hand by Monty Cook and Sean K. Reynolds. With this, I love this gorgeous artwork here on the front, and it's $5.99 for 36 pages. Chaotic transformation hints at the reemergence of a festering evil. The cult of the Ebon Hand, an evil group that worships deformity and mutation, has been rooted out and destroyed. Now in Ptolus, even bearing a symbol of the Ebon Hand is a crime. There may be other chaos cults operating in the city, but the Ebon Hand, one of the worst, has been closed down. Or so it was thought. Echoes of transformative chaos have been leaching into the Guildsman district. Among the effects is the appearance of the Reborn, a gang of long-dead criminals now brought back to twisted form of life. The Reborn are settling old grudges by attacking prominent citizens of Ptolus, ending their depredations, and the re-emerging cult itself will take the PCs deep into the shadow depths of Ghoul's Labyrinth and to the borders of insanity itself. Return of the Ebon Hand is a hefty standalone adventure set in Ptolus. It assumes that the original cult's activities, as described in Ptolus Monty Cook's City by the Spire, have been brought to an end, and if the PCs were the ones who did so, it works as a sequel to those events. It can also be run without PC involvement in the prior destruction of the cult. So 5th edition for characters of roughly 6th level. You can also use it with Cypher system. And you also get a bonus adventure called Grip of the Ebon Hand, which is builds a short one-shot adventure from material about the Ebon Hand from the Ptolus Monty Cook's City by the Spire book. So now you should get that bonus in there as well. And I just love Ptolus. I think it's such a cool setting. I love urban stuff anyway. And it's just exciting. I like that they're releasing Ptolus stuff on a regular basis so that you can just keep feeding that setting. Wizards produces great stuff, but they bounce around on settings, right? So you're not getting regular releases for certain settings unless you, of course, incorporate third party, which I advise you to do. But it's nice to see a publisher that just keeps returning to a setting and feeding you that new stuff month after month, so that you can just keep growing and exploring and supplementing what you've built on your own homebrew version of it, right? So check it out under Ptolus for Return of the Ebon Hand in the links below, and give it a click. Next we have Rot, Pox, and Worm, 29 wretched diseases to ruin an adventurer's day. From Sadfish Games, $3.99 for 13 pages. Already a best copper seller, so over 50 copies in his first week. Wretched things dwell in damp and dark places. Sometimes they are too small to even see. Rot, Pox, and Worm for 5th edition includes 29 all-new diseases to inconvenience adventurers, or to bring ruinous plot hooks to your campaign. They are designed to run the gamut of sicknesses and mechanical impacts on characters to enrich the struggles and triumphs of your characters, ranging from the mundane to dangerous to outright deadly if left to fester. And there is a bundle where you can get this along with multiple other titles. So when you click the link in the video description, make sure you consider whether you want to also get all the other titles together. So let's look inside, and you get to see the entirety of the book in the preview, so that's super helpful. You get to see all the diseases from cackle fever all the way down to Watchman's Blink. And yeah, they're fully detailed. You can see each one of these is a pretty significant section on the disease, so that you have the information you need to work it into your setting. And yeah, I like that. I like that there's so many choices. I mean, you get a few in the DMG, the Dungeon Master's Guide, but it's nice to have more. So let's look at Bubbling Pox here. A favorite of plague worshippers and creatures of filth, the Bubbling Pox turns its humanoid victims into unwilling tools in their war against the clean and living. The sores that cover the infected's body bubble and pop at random, spreading contagion wherever the unlucky soul travels. In a sick irony, the pox works to suppress other diseases yet to manifest in the infected, instead working to preserve such infections without harming the host, making them an unwilling carrier. Those so infected must be quickly treated or immediately ostracized. Too often the latter becomes a necessity in far-off places unable to rapidly procure the right assistance to treat the afflicted. There are rumors of colonies of people so banished, gestation chambers for yet undiscovered plagues and poxes. Spread of the bubbling pox occurs through physical exposure to someone so infected or from certain plague rituals. At least one cult is known to willingly infect themselves before entering urban areas. Those exposed must succeed on a con saving throw or become infected with the disease, with symptoms manifesting within a week. Other than relatively painful blisters and sores across the body, infected humanoids suffer no ill effects personally. However, they carry in their sores and lungs the bubbling fever and potentially other diseases. Those around them most regularly, once per day after direct contact with the infected or on another routine relevant for another disease, make tests to resist bubbling fever or another disease that the infected person carries. The bubbling pox lasts indefinitely unless magically cured. So yeah, interesting one. It's like a disease of diseases, right? So, and that's just one. There's a lot in this book, and I really enjoyed that one. I think it gives you a lot of flavor, a lot of options for stories, and a lot of challenges, because I mean, you got to constantly check around this character so that your other characters aren't getting infected. So much fun with diseases await you. I mean, 29 of them, right? So check it out under Rot, Pox, and Worm in the links below and give it a click. Next, we have Snuffy's Gone, a simple kid-friendly adventure for 5th edition characters, levels 1 to 2, playable in 2 to 3 hours by Ryan Barolett Fogarty. And it's pay what you want, so it's got a suggested price of $2 for 26 pages. It says, for as long as anyone can remember, Lucky Pig Village has kept a pig in a pen in the center of the town. Snuffy, the current Lucky Pig, is fed well by the townsfolk who believe his happiness will bring luck to everyone in the village. But now, something has gone horribly wrong, and only the characters can save the town from an ogre-sized portion of bad luck. Because the lucky pig is gone, right? And so it seems really cute, fun little adventure. You've got this nice little hand-drawn map and isometric map as well, and an adorable pig says, please save me, right? So lots of humor here, which I appreciate. You've got the intro, and then 2 chapters for the adventure, and then you've got NPCs and monsters, magic items, spells, maps. I mean, just lots of stuff for just a fun, casual adventure. Talks about how to hook it into your story. You've got your various non-player characters, and then table for the characters to see what they hear and see in the village when things are going on. So we'll read a little bit of the intro here now. And it says, a man approaches you breathing heavily and gasps out a greeting. He is perspiring heavily, and you notice he is dressed like one of the town watch with a silver sash and a club and a dagger secured to his belt. "The pig is gone," he gasps. "Gone, our lucky pig. The biggest, scariest ogre I ever saw came and lifted Snuffy out of the pen. I didn't dare stop him, because just then he stared at me with the meanest, reddest eyes. Please, you've got to help." So, if the characters come with the man, he introduces himself as Carlo Marleypox and leads them to the central square of the village. A crowd of villagers are gathered around a cute painted fence. Inside the pen is a small, brightly decorated wooden shelter, a pool of mud, and a trough full of vegetables. No pig is to be seen. The inhabitants are talking heatedly to each other. You can tell from their tone of voice that they are very worried, because this lucky pig is gone, right? And it's just adorable. I think I love the way these maps are done, and I think it could be really fun if you have kids or even just people that appreciate a simple, fun, not so dark adventure. I think you should look for Snuffy's Gone in the links below, and I hope you save Snuffy. Give it a click. Next we have Tournament of Pigs. Interesting. We went from one pig to another, right? So very fun. There's always these themes that emerge when these releases come out within a week of each other, and it's fascinating. Anyway, I love this cover. Tournament of Pigs, a semi-competitive 0-level adventure box set. It's for 5th edition, but also works with Dungeon Crawl Classics by Tom Dinnick and Weird Works. $19.99 for 118 pages. It's an unforgettable adventure that has players taking the role of commoners trapped in a medieval game show competition. 12 events test luck and skill, but also creativity and improvisation. Do you think you can cook a cake good enough for the king? How good are you at wrestling greased piglets? Can you outrun an aberration while tied to another hapless contender? And it introduces semi-competitive play as players not only attempt to survive, but also uncover the secrets of each event and score valuable silver prizes. The tournament is bloody, but if the character is killed, another event starts soon and the player brings a new character into the competition. Instead of playing as a full-fledged adventurer, players take on the role of a commoner, the local butcher, a goat farmer, a seamstress, etc. And there's 100 additional options. The characters are quickly generated using the 0-level rules supplement, and the life expectancy of a lowly commoner thrust into deadly adventures is short, so players will pre-generate enough characters to get them through the session. And see how it's so cleanly spelled out, makes it really easy to get things going. The King's Mad Mage Falazar has spent all year preparing the events featured in the tournament. The challenges vary from baleful blood sport to cooking competitions to risky riddles to pernicious puzzles. And unlike most adventure modules, Tournament of Pigs is not fully cooperative. Players will be competing to score the most points by the end of the session to be declared the winner. Just how competitive players want to play is entirely up to them. There's a series of contests where they're challenged to discover a secret silver prize. When the character first enters the arena, they will be tasked with picking an item from the crap rack. What the item does won't be revealed until an action is taken in front of the card. So here's an example. They have a butcher's cleaver. It says flip after hitting a creature, and then it gives you the information. And some are exactly what they appear, but some won't. You won't know what they do until you take an action. And it's been thoroughly tested at cons across the country. So just really fun, flavorful. They even have a trailer down here that you can watch. So let's look inside. You get to see 12 of those 118 pages. So you got the random armor chart. But you can see very nice artwork, exploding arrows, Eton race. Look at this. I mean, that looks really cool. Little map of like falling off this like cliff thing here. And then you've got the weakened gibbering Mouther and a race that they have to deal with, fighting the Mouther. I mean, look at these setups for these. I mean, it just seems really fun. I mean, you could even use these contraptions and things elsewhere. And they've clearly had this custom commissioned art, because this see this isometric map, it matches this art. So very well done. Lots put into this. And I think it just is going to be such a great time. But let's find one that we can read. So I want to, instead of the Eton race, let's read a little bit about the contraption. The contraption spreads out across the arena at about 50 feet. The throne sits in the center of the apparatus on a platform 10 feet in diameter. The throne is human-sized and carved out of what appears to be a large ship's barnacle-encrusted masthead. Above the throne sits a 20-gallon aquarium constructed of steel and glass and filled with dark water. 8 giant red octopuses reside in the aquarium. These creatures can be examined in the tank from a distance of 5 feet away for at least one round. The bottom of the aquarium has a 2-inch opening, but no water pours out. 8 20-foot square steel square ended blade arms extend out from the throne platform in the center. If examined, it is determined that each blade is hand sharpened. A chest is bolted to the end of each blade. Each chest is made of standard issue wood. However, they are sealed by an arcane mechanism constructed of cold iron and shaped like an octopus. A cloudy gray gem is set inside each seal. And then once a contestant is within 5 feet of the throne, the entire contraption begins to spin. The device reaches its full speed of 10 rotations per minute in one round. So yeah, I'm not going to read all of it because it'll be a spoiler, but just how fun. I mean, this thing starts spinning around. You've got an aquarium. There's octopuses in there. There's a throne. There's chests on. I mean, just visually so fun. And that's just one. And getting to play as commoners, getting to play competitively with each other. I mean, maybe you have a group that's been playing together for a long time and they have always been on each other's side, and now they get to compete a little bit, and it's friendly. You know, you're just trying to win prizes. You're not trying to necessarily ruin somebody else's game. So I think this could be just a ball of fun, and I'm sure there's even contraptions and things that you could take out of this and use elsewhere. They don't have to be part of this tournament, but I like it. I definitely would like to get this book. So it's called Tournament of Pigs, and it's in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we have Surviving the Arctic, which is part of Unearthed Spoils, this sort of zine that comes out from Grimm Press. It's on sale right now for $4.99, 18 pages, 5th edition. And so each of the volumes of Unearthed Spoil has all kinds of good stuff, including magic items, magical spells, archetypes, variant rules, encounters, etc. And you can see here just really nice artwork to go along with the spells and the items and just these samples here on the page. And then we'll look at the full size. You can see 10 of those pages. Goes through the table of contents and then again those items and spells. So we'll read one of the spells and one of the items for you, but you've also got archetypes like the Path of the Hostile Lands, which sounds fun. And let's read about Glacius. It's a first level evocation with a range of self and duration up to 1 minute for Druid, Sorcerer, and Wizard. The ground freezes in a 10-foot radius circle centered on a point you choose within range. A creature that starts its turn or moves into the area for the first time must make a con saving throw. On a failed save, creature takes cold damage and its movement speed is reduced by half for that turn. On a successful save, creature only takes half damage and its movement is not affected. So very cool, fun, thematic. You know, this works with Rime of the Frost Maiden or any kind of Arctic stuff you got going on. So then in magic items, we've got the Miner's Delight. It's a potion with rarity that varies. When water is poured into this flask, it begins to crystallize into long purple fragments that resemble purple gemstones. After 24 hours, the process is complete and the crystals can be removed from the flask and consumed as an action. If the crystals are not consumed during that round, they liquefy back into water. When you consume the crystals, they provide enough nourishment to sustain you for 1 day. In addition, you gain a number of temporary hit points depending on the Miner's Delight rarity, as shown in the Miner's Delight potions table. So you've got Adequate, Uncommon, you get 2d6, Delicious, which is rare, you get 46 temporary hit points, etc., all the way up to Legendary. So nice flexible item. And then, you know, just really nice artwork on all of the different items that you might get here. So I like that. Very fun. And yeah, just a grab bag of stuff that you can use, especially if you have some sort of Arctic themed thing like Rime of the Frost Maiden or your own Arctic stuff. So check it out under Unearthed Spoils in the links below and give it a click. Next we have Warlock Mother's Brood from Fire Ruby Designs. It's $6.77 for the PDF at 74 pages, or you can do a hardcover for $21.64 or the combination for the same price. It says supplement for Warlock. Welcome to the Under Kingdom. They say you're never too far from a rat, but in the kingdom there are worse things than rats. You've heard the stories. Your brother's best friend's uncle's servant's niece saw a rat man once. It was dressed in a ragged cloak, naked tail bobbing behind it as it ran, hunched over, clutching something close to its chest. The niece, though terrified, ran after it, watched as it pulled up the sewer gate, and jumped feet first into the muck below. Of course, nobody else was around. Nobody else saw this happen. Can't be true. Well, let's look inside and see more about the rat men that are in this particular book. So you've got a whole section on the rat men with the lore, then you got the plague magic, rat men careers, and a whole bazaar for the rat men as well. So quite a lot in the 74 pages. So you got the whole myth of them. You get to see 10 of the pages here. The following pages give statistics for a range of ratmen that may be encountered. So this is all OSR because it's Warlock, right? So you've got the typical Ratman and Ratman tracker. It says here, let's see, Ratmen are not evil or good as a rule. They are extremely secretive due to the fear that they inspire within other peoples. But Skrulls are not malicious per se. If anything, they are timid when forced to engage with other communities. This timidity can sometimes be mistaken for an effective persona for calculated treachery. Ratmen are no more conniving than humans, though all other communities have a difficult time reading the body language and facial features of ratmen, often misinterpreting their feelings and motives. So that's good. That gives you something to work with from a conflict point of view, for sure. So another fun Warlock supplement from Fire Ruby Designs. So check it out under Warlock Mother's Brood in the links below. Give it a click. And then we have Wayfarer's Deck by Double Proficiency, The Sea of Grass, which is 50 illustrated encounters, findings, puzzles, wonders, and writing prompts for adventurers traveling through the endless steppes, prairies, and savannas. So we've covered past editions from Double Proficiency, and they always do really good work. They have some books that give you background on biomes and environments and terrains, etc. And then they also have these decks that you can get that like inspire you or give you things that can happen in those terrains. So the combination is really nice. And we're just covering the deck this week, but they've also released a book on the grasslands that you can see down here as well. So you can get both together and really have like grasslands and steppes, etc., fleshed out in your homebrew setting. And it's just fun because you're getting these 50 cards or you can roll, a D100 and divide by 2, whatever way you want to get to these cards. And they're setting agnostic, so they can work with anything, 5th edition, OSR, really anything. So I also love that about their work, is that it's so flexible. So let's look inside. Get to see 10 of the cards. And so this first one is Refugee. It says a panicked person in ragged clothing stumbles right into your camp, begging you not to betray their presence before hiding in one of your tents. A moment later, a cavalcade of riders arrives asking if you've seen an escaped prisoner accused of vile crimes. So this is a great little hook to get the adventure started. Or you can have just an encounter in the middle of an existing adventure, mix some things up. And there's quite a few in here. Grazers, it says a massive herd of grazing herbivores crosses your path. Thousands of peaceful beasts stride lazily through the sea of grass, unperturbed by your presence. So sometimes they're just visuals that you see, like a stampede or traders. So I'm going to find one more to read. The Circle. A wide swath of grass lies on the ground, bent unnaturally by an unknown force. The resulting pattern resembles a circle filled with complex lines and geometric symbols. So you might come across some sort of like crop circle style indentation, creates a mystery. Whether that leads to something or it's just a red herring or just flavor is really up to you as the DM. But that's what I like about this. These decks from Double Proficiency is that they can inspire you, and maybe one time it's just flavor, something somebody sees as a sensory thing, and then another time it leads to a full-blown encounter. You have a whole reason for why it's there, and you come up with the monster that created it or the NPC that created it, etc. So there's a lot of reusability to the Double Proficiency decks. So I think you need to give it a click in those links below under Wayfarer's Deck and check it out. All right. That was our last title for this week, but we're going to talk about what is going to be on discount on Monday because, again, we've started this new program with Splinterverse Media where we have Money Saving Mondays, and we are going to give you exclusive discounts you cannot find anywhere else every week. So we want to make sure you are following us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all at Splinterverse, and there you will find every Monday a brand new discount that only you can access, being part of our followers. So we've got this coming Monday, we're going to be giving you a special discount to Hard to Be the Bard by JD Mills and a bunch of other people. And Arcanist Refuge is their publishing group, and it's really cool. It's where you explore the Feywild to find the world's most powerful song. It says a kingdom has transitioned into the Feywild to escape from a shadow war with their enemies. 2 kings are dead, and the brilliant queen Madeline has taken control of Richester. An ancient artifact, an epic song of old called the Bard's Tale, is the only hope to bring true peace to the kingdom of Richester. Hard to Be the Bard leads the characters through the Feywild on a series of adventures inspired by our favorite musicals. It's intended to take the players from 5th to 10th level and beyond. And there's advice and examples of facilitating musical implementation at the table, 30 unique encounters, 18 magic items, 24 new monsters, and 63 unique NPCs. And you can see it's really beautifully laid out and easy to read and just seems to be quite comprehensive. And looking inside, you can see 20 pages in their preview, and you've got all the different chapters, the unique items, the dramatis personae, so that's your NPCs, your monsters, and the introduction. It's just so much in here, and it talks about, it says the adventure was designed with passion and love for both music and role-playing games. To experience it in its entirety, there are a few steps to integrate music into your campaign. With your whole heart and a sense of fun is how you sing. You don't have to be a professional soprano to flex your musical muscles. The point of this supplement is to have fun at the table with your friends. A few wrong notes never hurt anybody as long as you're having fun and you're doing it right. There's karaoke tracks from musicals you likely know, which you may use as backing tracks for your new originals. There's some custom-made instrumental music that they've designed to support singers regardless of their experience. So all kinds of stuff to involve singing in this, to bring it in if you want to. But I'm sure you could play it without that, or just say my character sang. There's room for everybody. And you've got all these encounters in Never Never. And then just animated animals, gingerbread house. It's packed with stuff, and we're going to look at this again next week. But I want you to just remember that this is going to be, it's normally $14.95. You're getting 50% off of this next Monday. So, and if you're watching this later, then hopefully you're watching it in time to still take advantage of the discount. And if not, make sure you're following us for future discounts. There's going to be more discounts coming your way. But I'm excited to offer this one to you. Again, we want to be a destination for third-party D&D content and to continue to promote awesome creators like the Arcanist Refuge, etc. So be sure you're following at Splinterverse. Subscribe to this channel, like the video, leave us a comment, let us know what books we talked about this week, what you plan to do with those, how your current campaign is going, anything. We will respond to your comments, and share the video out there so more people find out about us and what we're up to over here in the Splinterverse. And click all those links in the video description. Make sure to support these creators, check out their books, leave them comments, send ones to your DM that you think they'll use, all that good stuff. And if you purchase anything, even if it's a book we didn't cover today, a little bit of money is going to come back to the channel to help support us. And so we greatly appreciate that. And we have 5 books we released in 2021 listed in the video description, and we're fast at work on our Kickstarter book for later this year, which I can't wait to talk about. It's so exciting. But if you want to buy any of those books to support the channel, that's a great idea as well. We've got Fizban's Vault of Draconic Secrets, which goes into all kinds of dragon related stuff, from plot hooks to a familiar, to spells, to subclasses. They're all jam-packed into that book. We've got Van Richten's Librum of Lineages, which teaches you how to deal with stringing lineages together or removing a lineage, now that that's a thing in D&D. And there's some really cool brand new lineages in there for you for any setting. Potions Unlocked, which goes deep diving into potions, every little thing you could ever want, from taste, smell, labels, optional rules, locations where you can find potions, even this really cool plant that just brings things to it, like items, but mostly bottles and potions. So just fun things to explore, and other plants as well that you can use for your campaign, even if it's to make a potion or just for flavor. And it's print on demand or digital. And Feywild Companion with over 150 pages of Feywild fun, with tons of tokens and VTT maps, subclasses, spells, items, encounters, full adventures. It's packed full of stuff. Lots of monsters too. A really cool, fun bestiary. And then we've got Secrets of the Draugr with a whole new race with adventure hooks, NPCs, deities, you name it. It's in there to bring this race and its culture, including some backgrounds, to life. There's 3 backgrounds in there. So I hope you check all those out and give them a try, and keep on watching, supporting all these creators. Keep up the great work, all the creators watching. I love seeing what you've created, and I can't wait till next week to see what you've created for us next. And stay tuned. Until next time, happy adventuring.